Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, television, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. And guys, it is a good day when the one who tangos shalom all through the night, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, is here. Robert, how you doing today, sir? Oh my gosh, he's still going strong. He is still going strong. I'm telling you, he's still doing great. Guys, listen, we have a lot of things to talk about here today. We are here to talk about, wait a minute, some people are saying Rob's audio is off and that you cannot hear him. Is this true? Rob, can you talk to me for a second?
No one can hear me.
Let's try that again now. Can you guys hear Rob now? Rob, I think they can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? You take the deepest. I don't know the lyrics to this song.
Oh, apparently Rob is good now. That's good.
I'm good.
As you guys could tell earlier, we started the show 10 minutes late today. We've been experiencing some weird technical problems that has to do with some of the software that we're using, but I think we got it all sorted out. Anyway, guys, we do have a lot of things to talk about here today and a lot of things to do, and we're so glad that you guys are here joining us. A little bit of housekeeping before we go into anything else. I want to remind you guys that, we made a little movie. Last year, spent most of 2020 doing it. And it is called Movie Trailers, A Love Story. And it's a documentary about movie trailers, the history of movie trailers, the development of movie trailers, the importance of movie trailers today, the problems with movie trailers today. Anyway, that's all in there, and it is now available worldwide, and you can get it wherever you live right now at www.vimeo.com/on-demand/movie trailers. You can get the thing there regardless of whatever country you live in, but also, you guys, if you happen to live in the US or the UK, you also have an option of getting it on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, once again, if you live in the US or the UK, and search for Movie Trailers, A Love Story, and you can find it there. And a big thank you to all of you guys who have already gone and checked the movie out and commented and rated on it. That has been overwhelming and awesome, so thank you guys so much for that. Okay, guys. Before we get into our main topics today, let's touch on a couple of off the tops. And the first off the top we're going to talk about is this. Now, Rob, it made a little bit of a splash, if you will, when we found out that there was going to be a new director for Doctor Strange 2. And, a lot of us were a little bit bummed out that they were swapping out directors, but then we found out it was going to be Sam Raimi. And Sam Raimi was coming in to direct Doctor Strange 2. And that's pretty exciting. Sam Raimi is obviously very adept to comedy, to horror, to blending those genres. He's got a wild imagination. Not every movie he's ever made has been absolutely fantastic, but he's made a lot of really good and a lot of memorable ones. Well, as soon as we found out that Sam Raimi was coming in, all of us started speculating. You think Bruce Campbell might appear in this thing like he normally does?
Oh, I think so.
Oh, I think we all think so. And it looks like Bruce Campbell this morning may have just confirmed it himself. Now, as we know, Doctor Strange 2 is shooting in London right now. So Bruce Campbell got on social media today, who of course has worked with Sam Raimi many times, including on the Spider-Man movies that Raimi did. And he wrote the following with a picture of London in the background. Boy, it was a blast working in a certain city with a certain director on a certain movie with a certain actor. It sure was. Now, of course, the implication here, Rob, is that he's working on Doctor Strange 2. But, before anybody rushes to say that Bruce Campbell is spoiling it, who on this planet right now, Rob, was not expecting to see the groovy one show up in a new Sam Raimi comic book movie? He's worked with him on Spider-Man before. We know Spider-Man's going to be in this thing. I doubt he's going to play the same side character he did in Raimi's original Spider-Man films, and it's probably going to be very small, but I don't care. I'm just excited to see it. But here's the question, Rob. Was he actually pretty much just confirming what we all already know, that he'll be appearing in this thing? Or is he doing a little bit of trolling? Is he doing a little bit of misdirect? What do you think about this?
I don't, you know what? I saw that tweet and it made me smile because it could mean anything. Who knows what he's saying about it? He says some film with some director and some actor. There it is. Certain city, a certain director on a certain movie. Who knows what he's talking about? I don't know. I don't think he's entering into the annals of Ruffalo or Holland spoiler territory. I think what a clever way to. By the way, I'm sure maybe he might have had someone's approval to do that.
Oh,
It's pretty great.
But it's something we all knew. And I saw somebody on Twitter today go, okay, when they saw him post that, confirmed the book that's in Agatha Harkness's basement is indeed the Necromonicon. So there you go. It's all set. It's all one big shared cinematic universe. Again, it's pretty fun, but it's no big deal because, again, I think we all knew that he was going to pop up in this thing. We all knew it. Question is, guys, what do you think about this? Do you think this cements it, or do you think Bruce is just playing with us a little bit? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, there's one more off the top that I'd like to do, and that is this. You know, back when D23 happened, it feels 5 years ago, and it wasn't all that long ago, but ages ago when we could still gather together in public, I went to D23 and they made a lot of announcements. They talked about Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan. They talked a lot about some upcoming MCU stuff and a lot of other projects. But the one that I was most buzzed about, and the thing that excited me the most, was a project they talked about that I hadn't even really heard of, called Raya and the Last Dragon. And I thought it sounded and looked amazing. And by the way, Micah Leon sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Micah. Appreciate that, man. I was thrilled by the clips they showed, by the description of what's going in. I love the voice cast and all that kind of stuff. Now, they have gone through some drama with Raya and the Last Dragon. First of all, they swapped out the director, which to me was heartbreaking, Rob, because they had this woman directing it. And she got on stage at D23 and told the story showed pictures of her as a little girl growing up in her grandmother's house, dressed up in different Disney princess outfits, and saying, my only wish is that that my grandmother was still here today so I could show her I'm telling a Disney story. I'm making a Disney movie. Well, they had some behind the scenes drama and she left. They brought in new directors. They also swapped out the lead voice. The lead voice who they brought out on stage at D23, she's gone. They brought in Kelly Marie Tran. I love Kelly Marie Tran, I do. But, it's kind of bummed that the girl was getting a break in this and she lost that break. And so I've been kind of wondering, how is Raya and the Last Dragon going to turn out? So a couple of nights ago, Ann and I were able to sit down. Disney sent me a screening link for it. Sat down, and I sat down with mixed expectations. I was super excited at first, and then all this drama going on behind the scenes. And I can tell you, it's really good. It's not the, year-defining animated film that I was kind of hoping it would be with my first experience with it at D23. It's not like a top 5 animated film of all time, which I kind of maybe suspected it might be, although that was a tall order. But I'll tell you what, Raya and the Last Dragon is beautiful to look at. Like it is visually, I really appreciate it, Rob, when animated films will go that extra mile and that extra step to make the film they're looking at like visually beautiful. And they don't forget about that. And, when you go into the different areas and landscapes and lands they go through, it's gorgeous. The design of the dragon, which actually everything I saw at D23, I thought looked great. And then they gave us a glimpse of the dragon. And was the one thing I was disappointed in. I didn't think the dragon looked very good. But once I saw it in motion and in the movie, matched with the personality, the dragon is voiced by Awkwafina, by the way, then it completely worked for me. And I loved it. The story has classic, coming of age, embracing your destiny kind of elements to it. But there's also an underlying, I guess you could say, sort of political message in it that I think will resonate with everyone. Like, it's not one of those pick a side. It's like a political, and I don't want to say what that message is because I don't want to spoil what the central theme of the movie is, but it's done very effectively. And like I said, I think it's a message that will resonate with everyone on that. So the action is really good. It's humorous. It's kind of a joy to watch. It's visually beautiful. This one's a win. Again, Rob, it's not like a top 5 movie animated film of all time. It didn't meet the expectations that I had coming out of D23, thinking this might be one of the best animated films of all time and everything. But after all the drama, I was nervous. And I got to tell you, it's a win. This movie's a win. It's charming. It's funny. It's got a really good core story. The action is good. It reminded me some of the old Kung Fu and Wushu films I used to watch when I was a kid at the same time. Strong central character. Good mythology. I got to tell you, I really liked it. Now, I'm just curious, Rob, as somebody who wasn't at D23 and who hasn't seen the film yet, I'm just curious as like an average fan, what have your expectations of Raya and the Last Dragon been up till now?
Well, all I know of the movie is what, you told me about seeing it at D23 and how it looks to me. And it looks great. I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks very interesting. I kind of think the dragon looks like a distant hot cousin of Falkor from the Neverending Story.
That's a good,
if there's a dragon I ever wanted to date, this dragon's very, very, very cute. And I like the long flowing hair. So, I know, in all seriousness, the film looks really good to me. And it's great to hear. Like, to me, I loved Soul. I thought Soul was
great.
Really terrific. And congratulations to Atticus Ross and to Trent Reznor for winning a Golden Globe for the score. But I loved what I saw of this film, and I'm glad to hear it's really good. Like, I don't expect, every movie to blow me away. So hearing your review is very reassuring. I'm glad that I look forward to watching it.
Yeah, I think I think this is an all quadrants movie. I think it's going to work for a lot of people. Again, it's just a really charming. Anne was smiles ear to ear the whole time watching it. So
I got to ask you, it's obviously on Disney Plus at a premium cost. Should I drop the green? Should I drop the green on it?
Oh, that's a good one, because what's their premium cost? Like $30? No.
Really?
It's a good movie. I enjoy it and I will watch it again. But this $30, nah. If your only choice is to drop $30 right now to watch it, or wait just a couple of months and wait for it to come on Disney Plus for free, like it's going to here shortly, I would say wait. It's not a life-changing movie. Like, it's not Up. You know what I mean? This movie won't contend for Best Picture of the Year, maybe Best Animated. And so there would be very, very few films, but there would be a few. There would be a few films I would say, yeah, dropping the $30 is worth it. But I think this is a good film. It is worth your time. But would I tell somebody to drop $30 instead of just waiting a little bit to see it for free on Disney Plus? I would say you can probably, unless you're going to have like some nieces and nephews over, or maybe you got a couple of friends together, maybe then it's worth dropping the $30 if 4 or 5 you're going to watch it. But if it's just you, maybe you and one other person, I would say wait. I would say it's not really worth it. But that's my kind of take on that. That's what it is. Anyway, guys, question is for you. I think this is a really solid movie and very enjoyable. I think most of you guys are going to like it. What have your expectations been like for Raya and the Last Dragon? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into our main topics today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you think we should have as a main topic here on the John Campea Show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's totally free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get into main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Jessica Wu, who writes, "Hi, John and Rob. First time, long time, and thank you so much for the show." Well, thank you for being with us, Jessica. "So it's not like I was the biggest fan of Batwoman, but did you see that CW edited out Ruby Rose from the Justice League Stand Together shot from the end of Crisis? They played it during a new Arrowverse special for Superman and Lois. When they came to that shot, Ruby was just not there. Since she was there, doesn't it come across as a little petty to just take her out? What do you think?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Jessica. And yes, now listen, the Batwoman drama just does not seem to go away. Of course, Ruby Rose played Batwoman in season 1. Hey, I thought she was an interesting pick. I liked her in the crossover stuff, but I gave the show a shot. I gave it a couple episodes, did not work for me, wasn't for me. I didn't outright think it was the worst thing in the world, but it just didn't work for me, so I kind of jumped off Batwoman. But, their ratings were never all that great. And then, of course, a lot of off-season drama. For those of you who may not know about this, Ruby Rose, unceremoniously departed, whether she was asked to depart or whether she really chose to depart, whatever it was, she left. CW then made the very odd decision, Rob, to instead of just recast the role, they decided to change the character and say, oh, that's not even, I can't remember what Ruby Rose's character's name was, but they said, let's just change the character altogether. Let's say that character just disappeared. Really? After one season? And then they brought in not only a new actress, but a new actress to play an entirely different role, and their ratings have kind of suffered for it. So there was that little bit of background drama. So what Jessica is referring to here is, there was this little special that aired with Superman and Lois. By the way, a show that was much better than I thought it would be. At least the premiere episode, better than I thought it would be. But it's referring to this. In the CW, there was, during the Crisis thing, there was this iconic shot, right? With what that CW versus version of Justice League is. And of course, considering how much they crap all over Superman, it's only fitting that Superman's standing at the back in this picture, because they had no respect for the character. Anyway, so here we've got them, and you see right there, second to the end, standing beside Martian Manhunter, is Ruby Rose as Batwoman. That was in the show. And historically, in the CW canon and continuity, that character was there in that shot. So that's fine. However, in the version that aired with that little CW Arrowverse special, this is the picture that appeared. And as you can see, there's one thing a little bit different from picture 1 to picture 2. They spitefully, even though in canon, look, I would understand this if in canon they changed the story and they say their history was changed and, Batwoman, the Ruby Rose Batwoman was never there. I would get that. I would understand that. But the character was there in that shot. That character played by that actress was there in that shot. And they just decided to jump in there and just Photoshop that sucker out. Just jump in there and just take her out. And I gotta say, it strikes me as a little odd, and I'm not the only one that struck as odd. This comes to us from the folks over at Screen Rant, who writes, it's unclear at this point why the CW would edit out Rose from that scene in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Even if Kate's no longer in the franchise, it doesn't change the fact that Rose's character was still in the crossover, and in that specific moment. Whether or not it be due to legal reasons remains to be seen, but it be a possibility. Either way, it doesn't make it any less awkward to erase Rose's character no matter what. They could have easily shown a different shot from the crossover where Kate wasn't in it at all. It'd have been just as weird to edit out Melissa Benoist's Supergirl, David Harewood's Martian Manhunter, and Chris Williams's Black Lightning, just because those shows are ending this year. And I think they bring up a really good point there, Rob. Like, if you, for whatever reason, don't want to show Ruby Rose, then pick a different shot from Crisis that just didn't have her in it. To specifically, and let me bring this up again, to specifically put in a shot that you purposefully edit out of the shot to me, seems like you are making a point. Because, Rob, again, they like the Screen Rant article said, they could have picked any scene from Crisis that didn't have Ruby Rose and just did that. To me, it seems like they purposefully went out of their way to tell the world, fuck Ruby Rose. That's what it kind of seems like they were doing. They purposefully picked a shot that had Ruby Rose in it so they could purposefully and demonstrably show that we're taking her out of our image. And to me, that's very awkward. Now, listen, I say this, I am not a big Ruby Rose fan. You know, I tried Batwoman, I couldn't watch it. It didn't work for me. But this seems, I like the word Jessica used in the email, Rob. It seems kind of petty, and it seems kind of spiteful, and it kind of seems below them. And it was an awkward choice. And if there were legal reasons, then just use a different shot. I don't know, this struck me, and I'm saying all this as a non-fan. I'm not a fan of Batwoman. But it does strike me as a little bit odd. Rob, you had a chance to look at this. What did you think?
Dude, it not only is it, I think, petty, it's a little scary because, you know, I know it's an entertainment franchise and all that, but this idea that now you're just going to erase people, where does that kind of thing end? I mean, I understand they're promoting that, but like everyone said, it occurred. It happened. Batwoman was a part of this crossover event. You can't say it didn't. Are they going to go in and now edit Ruby Rose out of this entire crossover event from future broadcasts or home video releases or wherever? It's such a strange thing to do. And I think it sets a bad precedent. I just don't understand it because somebody had to sit down. First of all, there was some meeting somewhere where they decided to do this. Then the order was handed down to somebody, and then somebody was tasked with actually taking her out and photoshopping this to put it back so they could remove her and put somebody in her place, or move the person and put them in their, you know, was it Black Lightning? No, it's not Black Lightning. It's who?
Beside her?
But anyway.
That's Martian Manhunter beside her.
Yeah, Martian Manhunter. I'm looking at a very small image. I'm sorry. So I'm like, what? Why would you do that? Like all that work. I mean, it was a meeting where somebody made the decision. Then it was passed down to a subordinate who said to a worker, please do this for us. Like, it's just weird to me. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah. And again, I'm seeing people now already saying, well, you know, it just, they maybe thought it was awkward to have Ruby Rose in the picture. Then show a different shot from Crisis. Show a different image, a different piece of footage, like anything.
But she was in Crisis.
Yep.
That's the funny thing. Like, she was in it. So I don't think, like, by admitting she was in it or trying to pretend like she's not is silly. Yeah. Because she was. It's just weird.
Yeah. Again, to me, it comes across it. And I say this, I don't care. I don't care about Ruby Rose, and I certainly don't care about Batwoman. But at the same time, this seems very small, very petty, and very spiteful. And quite frankly, the type of behavior they as a major network, and they are CW. They're not, you know, at Netflix or whatever, but they're a major player. As somebody like that, I'm sorry, you got to act a little bit of a higher standard. And I think this is spiteful and petty. And I say that as somebody who doesn't give a crap about Ruby Rose or Batwoman, but this seems pretty petty. Anyway, guys, question is, you had a chance to take a look at this. What do you think? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move into main topic number 2, shall we? And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by the one and only, I love that username, I say it every time. Hello, John and Rob. It's good times for sci-fi fans. Now, after 12 years, District 9 is getting a sequel. Neill Blomkamp just confirmed via Twitter, District 10 screenplay also being written by Charlotte Copley, who of course starred in District 9, Terry Tatchell, who is Neill's wife, and I. It's coming. It's been 6 years since Blomkamp's last feature film, Chappie, which I thought was terrible, actually. But he's been busy with his own Oat Studios. As a visual effects artist myself, I couldn't be more excited. What are your thoughts? And keep on the great work. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, one. And yeah, listen, District 9 was a movie that was, I think, for everybody, a massive, pleasant surprise. I think they made it for, I think they said the budget was 30 million. 35 million, 30 million and change. Produced by Peter Jackson. Super low budget for a visual effects heavy movie. And by the way, the visual effects were outstanding, and the movie itself was great. The movie itself was great. Wonderful central character, great mythology that they kind of set up around possible future events, wonderful sci-fi. I loved the ending. I thought, and the ending just left open this big wide door for a sequel that never came. Now, Neill Blomkamp then went on to do a couple of other projects. He did, what was it called? Elysium? I think that was the name of the one he did with Matt Damon.
Which just came out on 4K,
Which just came out on 4K.
I know you're excited.
I was super stoked for Elysium. I ended up being very disappointed with Elysium. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was a very disappointing film. And then he did Chappie, which looked really kind of very much in the vein of a District 9. I know that movie has its fans, due respect, but for me, it also just really didn't work. And I think Neill's a good Canadian kid too, by the way. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think Neill's a good Canadian kid. So it's been a long time.
I think he might be from South Africa.
I know that, but I also think he moved to Canada, I think. But he's definitely South African. Yeah,
okay.
He grew up there. That's a lot of what District 9 is. Anyway, but so this is where we're at right now, though. This comes to us from Neill, who writes, I want to go back to that world and tell the rest of the story with Wickus and Christopher. The issue right now is that I have many other projects and ideas that I also want to work on and complete. And most importantly, the exact right reason to make District 10 needs to be very clear. The first film was based so explicitly on real themes and topics from South Africa that affected me greatly growing up there. And we need to make sure that the next film does not forget that. So that comes to us from Neill Blomkamp. So here's the thing, though, that I want to make very, very clear. A District 10 is not on the way. And I know, let's go back to the exact wording of the question. The District 10, after 12 years, District 9 is getting a sequel. Well, no, they might be getting a sequel. The only thing that Neill is saying right now is that we're writing a screenplay. But here's the thing, Robin, you know this. Right now in LA, there's 50 coffee shops with, now that it's outdoor seating, with 20 outdoor tables filled with people with their laptops and iPads who are screenwriters writing screenplays that are probably never going to get written. I'm not trying to sound pessimistic. I'm just saying, understand exactly where things are at right now. Neill's writing a script, which is great. That's the first thing that needs to happen. But, Rob, as somebody who has written scripts, and you who have written many scripts, you know, just because you're writing a script does not mean it's going to get actually picked up, greenlit, financed, and produced into a major motion picture. A lot of things have to happen, but it is at least getting the ball rolling. Is it too little, too late? The District 10 is something that they should have rolled with within 5 years. They should have rolled with District 9 or District 10, the sequel to District 9, within 5 years. And I admire that Neill decided he wanted to not just be seen as a one-trick pony, so he went out and did other things as well. And that was a good move. Didn't quite work. They should have got on District 10 right away and rode that momentum. So right now, Rob, I'm guessing there's a 50-50 shot that this ever actually happens and gets made. It's been a long time. They're going to need a studio to get involved and finance this thing. Maybe Peter Jackson will jump up on board with it again. So I'm saying it's a 50-50 chance, but at least they got the ball rolling. Rob, you hear about them writing the script right now. Why do you think it's taking this long? And ultimately, do you think it's a good idea? And do you think we'll finally get this thing?
Well, I think that, look, Neill Blomkamp, I loved District 9. And since then, his career hasn't exactly lit the world on fire. And I love what he's been doing with his Wild Oats Studios. But I think, you return to what worked. And I think that there'd be a lot of interest in a District 10 script, and especially now. So, he's developing it just like he was developing his Alien project that didn't happen either. So I'm all for it. But like you said, I once watched, when I first moved to LA, so very long ago, there was a local news story where a reporter went around LA and just walked up to people and said, "So how's your screenplay coming?" Just to random people. And every single person said, "Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Just finished my first draft." Not one, it was edited together, so we didn't see the people that said no, but there was quite a few people, obviously, they cut to. They were all in the midst of their screenplays. So, like you said, who isn't writing a screenplay? And but he's got a track record, and And I think if they had a great story, I love the milieu of District 10 or District 9, the whole idea of it. And if they've got a great story and great characters, I hope it gets made.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I want to see this. I do. I want to see a District 10. I've wanted to see it for a long time. And I don't know. Here's hoping the script turns out good. Here's hoping the studio agrees and wants to finance it and sees a possibility in it. And maybe they can make it for a real small budget like they did with District 9. Fingers will be crossed. Question is, guys, what do you think about this? Are you still hoping to see a District 10? Have you gotten over it like 8 years ago? Or are you thinking it could still happen? What do you guys think? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Mr. Geo Chis, I think. Anyway, writes, it's about damn time. Superman reboot in the works at Warner Brothers with, and I never pronounce his first name properly, Ta-Nehisi. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. I've read his name a million times. I've never actually heard it spoken, so forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. Ta-Nehisi Coates, writing, J.J. Abrams producing. Deadline has confirmed that author Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing a Superman reboot feature for Warner Brothers and DC, which J.J. Abrams is producing under his Bad Robot label. No plot yet and no attachments, despite the fact that we've heard how Henry Cavill is eager to get back into the cape. Saw this headline. What are your thoughts? All right. That is something that kind of broke on Friday. So Friday, the news came out that J.J. Abrams was going to, that's it. J.J. is bringing us a new Superman. And they brought on the screenwriter. They're referring to it as a reboot. Now, of course, for those of you who watch the John Campea Show and have for a while, you remember that this was not news to you because you guys knew about this 9 months ago. You guys knew about this 9 months ago. How did you know about it 9 months ago? Well, because of this. I got reached out to by one of the guys who told me about the Batman situation that said, and I'm not going to quote directly here, but basically said this. J.J. Abrams is doing Superman. And what this person told me was the reason they're not making any announcements about standalone Superman right now is because they want JJ to still have some flexibility to make those decisions. But it very well could be Henry Cavill. Okay, so you guys remember we told you that we had somebody in Warner Bros. Who told us, yep, it's done. JJ is doing Superman. And at the time, they just weren't sure. JJ had not decided whether he wanted to pursue doing a completely fresh Superman with a new actor and all that kind of stuff, or whether they wanted to refresh the character, but still have Henry Cavill playing in the role. Now, this comes to us from the folks over at Polygon who write the following. The new movie will be produced under J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot label. There is no director attached and no confirmation on whether the Superman role will be recast or if Henry Cavill will don the cape again. There have been rumors circulating since 2019 that Black Panther actor Michael B. Jordan would play Superman, but nothing has been confirmed. Coates has written Black Panther and Captain America series for Marvel Comics and received special thanks in the credits of Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. So that's where we're at. Now, look, to be clear, I think right now, they have decided what they're doing with Superman. Like, I believe 9 months ago, J.J. Abrams was still pondering whether he wanted to keep going with Henry Cavill as Superman or to swap it out and go with the new Superman. I think today, while they are not making any announcements, I think it is still possible Henry Cavill could be Superman. It's still possible. We've seen different comic book characters go through a reboot of sorts, but keep the lead actor. Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider is a great example. A lot of people forget that the second Ghost Rider movie was actually a reboot, but they kept Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider. And then of course we've seen, like, even on television, Rob, Constantine. You know, they kind of rebooted him from one network to bring him into another network. They decided to keep that character and keep that actor. And they went, so they could do the same thing with Superman. They can just maybe reforge a story. Again, I have no idea if they are going to keep Henry Cavill or not. Obviously, you guys know Henry Cavill to me is the greatest Superman of all time. You can't see him. Maybe you can just catch you can see a little, there right here. There's the S. Where is it? Right there. I got Henry always here looking over me. Henry is always here looking over me, keeping the studio safe and protected. So you know I love Henry Cavill as Superman. But, Rob, at the same time, you even as a big fan, you have to be aware of a couple of things. Number one, regardless of how much I love Henry Cavill as Superman, the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people who have not liked that iteration of Superman. I don't understand, but it's true. A lot of people didn't like Man of Steel. A lot of people didn't like his turn or didn't like Batman versus Superman. Fact number two is, listen, the reality is every movie Henry Cavill has been in as Superman has underperformed. Like, they didn't tank. They didn't do badly. But I'm sorry, if Captain Marvel can make $1 billion, a movie called Batman versus Superman should have tickled $2 billion. It should have gotten close to $2 billion, and it didn't even join the $1 billion club. So if you're an executive at Warner Brothers, here's the thing. If you're an executive at Warner Brothers, I get why there are legitimate reasons to ponder swapping out your Superman actor and starting fresh with a brand new Superman. I get it. I do. I understand it. Now, you're going to get a different answer from me. Obviously, I think keep Henry Cavill because I think he's the best. But that's me. If you're Warner Brothers and if you make another decision, I get it. I won't love it at first and I'll have to warm up to it, but I would get it. And I think we as fans can't lose sight of that we can't become tunnel visioned and just thinking, well, because I liked it, that means it's stupid not to have him come back. No, there would be some pretty legitimate reasons, I suppose, if you're a Warner Brothers executive. But me personally, I would bring him back. Regardless, it is now official. J.J. Abrams, Rob, is doing a new Superman, whether it's going to have Henry Cavill or not. They're moving forward with another Superman, and we will see how this turns out. Rob, there's so many moving pieces to this. You look at this situation. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the Ta-Nehisi Coates is someone I'm actually a big fan of in terms of his writing. He wrote his debut novel was called The Water Dancer, which is a book that I read, and it dealt with, I mean, he writes a lot about issues of race, and white supremacy and things like that. But his book, The Water Dancer, was a great piece of historical science fiction. And it had a lot of heart. It even had somebody who had superhuman abilities. I highly recommend it. And he's written comics. He wrote a really interesting run in Black Panther. So he's one of America's preeminent writers, both as a journalist, a nonfiction author, and a fiction author. So it's a really, really bold choice to write the script. But I have to believe that this means that they're going to do the story of a black Superman, which there are black Superman in the DC universe, which could be exciting, or they're going to reimagine the Superman mythology. So I don't think that Henry Cavill is probably part of their plans, which also means that with them leaning into the multiverse, it doesn't mean that Henry Cavill is done as Superman over at Warner Brothers either. So what I find really interesting about this is, as a fan of Ta-Nehisi Coates' work, I'm very, very curious to see what he's going to write, what script he's going to write. I just don't imagine him. Maybe it's been his dream to write Superman. I don't know, but I think we're at the preliminary stages of this. I know it excites me that he's writing the script, just because I'm a fan of his work. Where J.J. Abrams would take this, I mean, remember he did write Flyby, the Superman script that McGee was going to direct before they made Superman Returns.
Yeah, I heard you and Schnepp used to talk about that. Like,
yes,
I know Schnepp liked that script. Did he not?
It was, well, there was things in it that were interesting, and I even have a lot of there was animatics that were made. I'll tell you one thing: there was an incredible superhero battle in it, superhero battle that would have resulted in far more carnage and destruction than were in than Man of Steel. and people would have gone absolutely bananas with the amount of carnage and people who died at the end of that script. But it had some interesting stuff in it. So I'm curious about this. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think it's a fascinating move, and I don't know what it means. I don't necessarily know. I just can't imagine that they're not going to make a film about a black Superman, simply because Ta-Nehisi Coates' writing has focused so much on issues of race. And he's been a great journalist. If you read, he goes all the way back to, he wrote for The Atlantic. He's a great writer.
I still think there's a chance, but at the same time, let's remember this. If JJ decides not to use Henry Cavill, that doesn't necessarily mean that Henry Cavill is done in the DCEU. Right now, we know there are going to be multiple Batmen. We've got Robert Pattinson is going to be in his Batman movies. And we've got, Ben Affleck is not going to go on as Batman, but at least he's going to appear in The Flash, right? And so is Michael Keaton, is at least going to appear in The Flash. They can have different, and with Walter Hamada at DC Fandom basically laying out, our DC thing is all one big multiverse, which means you can have that. So I still believe there is a chance JJ decided he still wants to have Henry Cavill as Superman. But even if he does not, that doesn't mean Henry's done as Superman. Maybe I'm just being overly optimistic, but I believe that beyond Justice League, we are going to see Henry Cavill donning the crest of hope, the family of El. I believe we're going to see him with that crest on his chest again. And again, maybe I'm just being overly optimistic, but I just am. Either way, I'm very curious to see where this goes. The whole idea of the Superman is one that you guys know has always completely fascinated me. I love the Superman character. Question is, guys, what do you think about this? Jump on down into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, buckle in. Let's move on to main topic number 4, shall we? And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Blake, who writes, "Hey, John. Reuters is reporting that Adam Aaron of AMC, he's the CEO at AMC Theaters, is getting an over $3 million bonus to Adam Aaron and $100,000 to $500,000 bonuses to the rest of the executive staff. Doesn't this look bad for a company struggling and a company that was forced to lay off tons of minimum wage workers during the pandemic? I love AMC, but this is very greedy and short-sighted move in my opinion. What do you think?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Blake. And for those of you who don't know what it is Blake is referring to, you guys know that the entire movie theater industry is in rough shape right now. I think that's putting it generously. The entire movie theater industry is in rough shape. They're in perilous times. I think they're going to come out of it on the other side, but they have been experiencing a really rough go with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. Not to mention AMC Theaters, obviously. And for those of you who may not know, maybe you're completely new around here, AMC Theaters is very near and dear to my heart, other than the moronic jackals who run their HR department, which are a bunch of imbeciles. But aside from that, AMC Theaters is a company that is very near and dear to my heart. You know, I launched AMC Movie News with them. I worked with them for years. I still have people that I consider wonderful, awesome people that I know that are still working at that company. I have a very, and my favorite theaters to go to. Rob, AMC Theaters are my favorite movie theater of choice. They're the ones I prefer to go to. I love AMC Theaters, notwithstanding, you know, the demonic entities in their HR department. Besides that, I love AMC Theaters. So here's what's going on, though. This comes to us from Deadline. AMC Entertainment, the nation's largest theater chain, said Friday, it is awarding CEO Adam Aaron and other executives supplemental special incentive cash bonuses. Supplemental special incentive cash bonuses to recognize the challenge that they faced steering the embattled company on a financial roller coaster over the past pandemic year. Corporate associates and theater management will also get special bonuses, obviously much smaller, with all payouts coming from an authorized pot of $8.3 million. To be specific, the bonus that Adam Aron, CEO of AMC Theaters, is going to be close to $4 million. Just so you know, Adam Aron, CEO of AMC Theaters, already makes over $9 million a year, Rob. Poor fucking Adam Aron, with his poor fucking $9 million salary, poor fucking Adam Aron needed an almost $4 million bonus when 30 fucking thousand employees got furloughed in an industry that is barely keeping its head above water. You want to talk about bad fucking optics? This is bad fucking optics. You fucking moron. You are a fucking human piece of shit and a disgrace. 30,000 people out of work. Now listen, don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. I'm not one of these people. I am not one of these people who thinks, oh, if a company needs to lay somebody off, then, the big executives should take pay cuts. No. Hey, listen, if the executives are still doing their job and they're still in their position, they should get what their salary is. Even if that salary is $9 million. Even if your salary is $9 million, I'm not one of these guys to think, oh, hey, if somebody needed to get laid off, that means the exec should lose their salary. No. I'm not saying that. I'm not believing that. I'm not even saying you should dock their pay. And I am certainly not saying that the reason AMC is in tough shape right now is because of Adam Aron and the executives of AMC. They didn't cause the pandemic. This ain't their fault. I'm not blaming them for that at all. But that being said, there is a difference from acknowledging, hey man, this ain't your fault. And there's a difference between saying, hey, yeah, you get an exorbitant salary, you get paid a ridiculous amount of money, and we're going to continue to pay your salary even though times are tough. There is a difference between that and a company that has been crying, boo fucking who, Congress? We're in such rough shape because of this pandemic. Boo fucking who? We need some kind of, and by the way, I was all for stimulus stuff. I think keeping the theater industry alive is very important. I was all for stimulus stuff. But you go to government and to taxpayers and say, boo fucking who? Look at how much it's affecting us. And then you hand out almost a $4 million bonus to one guy. Oh, but John, you don't understand. It was very tough keeping AMC theaters afloat during the pandemic. I don't doubt it. That's why you pay the guy $9 million a year. You pay that guy $9 million a year. Of course I expect him to do his damn job. It's his job to keep the company afloat, and you pay him well for it. To pay this guy $4 million in bonuses when the entire industry is suffering, when you laid off or furloughed 30,000 people who are sitting at home, who, guess what, Rob? They didn't have a $9 million a year salary to fall back on. We're talking about a lot of people working for minimum wage, sitting at home. The entire industry is going to tank right now, and you're paying this guy $9 million a year. And you got to give him a $4 million. Guess what? That $8 million in bonuses, Rob, these $8 million, half of which is going to Aaron, but these $8 million in bonuses, they're giving out to AMC execs saying, good job. Guess what? Every single person who got furloughed, AMC could have cut a check for $250 to every single one of those 30,000 people who got furloughed. Now, you may think $250 doesn't sound like much, but guess what? When you don't make much as it is, and now you're without work, and you're just trying to find something to eat tonight, $250 can mean fucking Christmas, ladies and gentlemen. It can mean Christmas. But no, what did they do? Now, again, just from a position, Rob, of optics, this is the most tone-deaf, utterly insane, completely incompetent, and it makes me lose all faith that the nut jugglers over there at AMC have any fucking clue of what they're doing. And by the way, I have been critical of, now when I was at AMC, there was a guy by the name of Gary Sanchez who was the CEO. That dude was brilliant. That dude was brilliant. I love that CEO. He was fantastic. He probably made more money than Aaron, but still, hey, and I'm not even poo-pooing on Aaron's base salary. You're running a big company, fine. I want to be very clear about what I'm being critical of and what I am not being critical of. But I'm sorry. When the industry is struggling, your company is barely keeping its head above water. This guy has made questionable decisions moving on. You've laid 30,000 or furloughed 30,000 of your employees. Every day we're talking about, can the theater survive? Can the theater survive? And then we as film fans see you handing out a $4 million bonus? What the fuck? And they wonder why some people are losing faith in the movie industry, because it's being run by a clown car of morons with their own fingers up their asses. This is ridiculous. It is profoundly ridiculous. And I don't know, it just seems to me, Rob, to be completely tone deaf. I was very upset to see this, especially as somebody who, with the history with AMC that I have, that I adore this company so much. They are my favorite movie theater going experience. I think this is profoundly tone deaf and ridiculous. Rob, you had to take a look at this. What are your thoughts?
Well, I might have a little bit different take than you do on this one, John. On one hand, everything you said, I think, is exactly correct. The optics are bad. It doesn't look very good. But I would say that the company might not have had a choice, in the sense that I'm always saying, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And whatever his contract has been, the company might not have had any other option, because he signed a contract, and the contract didn't, unless it talked about force majeure, act of God or something, they might have had to pay him, because that's what he's contractually obligated to get. And that's the only thing that I would say, is that it obviously, it doesn't look good for anyone. And he could have said, look, it looks bad for me. I mean, why don't we defer this payment until after we ride out this pandemic? Why don't we do that? And he didn't. But then again, his contract might have been very specific. And I would imagine that, unfortunately, it's not show friends or it's not show charity, it's show business. And sometimes in these situations, while it looks bad, it was what was negotiated.
But here's the problem, Rob. So, It wasn't. Here's the wording of this. This was not his contractually obligated annual bonus. This was, as said by AMC Theaters, a supplemental special incentive cash bonus to recognize the challenges they had faced. This was basically AMC saying this is outside of their contract. This is a special supplemental incentive cash bonus. This wasn't a part of his contract structure. And I would say, Rob, hearkening back to what it was you were just saying, that even if, because the public statement, and because AMC is a publicly traded company, because they're on the stock market, they have to release these financials, is that even if this was a scheduled bonus that he was scheduled to contractually make, which, if that's the case, then AMC is lying in their public statement, because they're calling it a supplemental special incentive cash bonus. But even if it is, you pointed it out yourself, if that's the case and you're the CEO who is making over $9 million a year in a cash-strapped, struggling industry, then you've got to be a somewhat competent leader and recognize the optics of that, and at least say, I appreciate the gesture. I am going to defer. So you can still get the money later, but you at least say, I'm going to defer that bonus. And, I'll collect, tell you what, AMC, I'll collect that bonus when we're back up on our feet and our people are back to work. And once that's all done, I would be more than grateful to accept the thing. I mean, at the very least, you come out and say, I defer, but this wasn't a contractually obligated payment, according to the report. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's to me, as Rob, you know me, not only as a fan of the theatrical experience, I've argued till I was blue in the face about the theatrical experience, but specifically as a fan and loyal patron and customer of AMC theaters, this is outstandingly disappointing. This is really ridiculously disappointing to me. And I let me ask you this, Rob. You're another one of the executives. Let's say not one in a position to receive a bonus. You're just an executive at AMC theaters. Let's say you're on the board. Let's go one better. Let's say you're a board member at AMC theaters, and this gets tabled at the latest board meeting. Hey, what say we get together $8 million and pay out some bonuses to our executives right now, given our circumstances? What input do you give the board at that point if you're sitting in there at that meeting?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately, obviously, we would want it to be fair and a fair and equitable system. But the fact of the matter is, I think that the last year in this particular industry has probably been the hardest year any of these people have ever faced. And, some of these executives might have thrown up their hands and said, I'm out. We have no future, and left. And that, I think, is something that AMC could not afford. And then I don't go back to say, oh, it's been so hard, so let's pay these guys more money or women more money. But in this case, I think it was really important for them to retain their executive board structure and the people that were turning AMC into a great company. Because remember, they spent $5 billion upgrading their theaters and continuing to keep AMC the most vibrant and best theater chain pretty much in the world. And I don't think, after spending all that money, do you pay to keep the people that designed and implemented that $5 billion expansion, or do you let them go? And I think, again, as much as we might not like the business realities of that, I think part of this was something they did preemptively to keep their board that spearheaded this big expansion, to keep them with the company, because it is that kind of a thing, and they need that brain trust, and they don't want to lose these people because they're in the middle of trying to pay back that $5 billion, and now they're far deeper in the hole because of the pandemic. So keeping your knowledgeable executive base intact to weather this storm, they might have offset that, thought, okay, well, do we let them go? Do we allow that possibility to happen and have people that we have to bring in again from the outside and start over when these are the people that designed this expansion for us and have been doing such a great job? And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But I'm speaking purely from a business decision. I think there's a lot going on. Now, did they have to give him $3 million? I mean,
when he already makes $9 million a year,
yeah,
they pay him handsomely.
It seems pretty exorbitant. Why not pay him $1 million? And as you said, pay out the other $2 million to employees that haven't been working, and keep your in the same way that you keep your executive employees intact. Maybe take those theater owners or managers or really experienced employees, and the people that are the most experienced, make it on a sliding scale. Keep those people around by paying them some money. Do something. But I understand this was a catastrophic time for this business. So I haven't looked into it enough, but it seems I understand why they did it, but it seems like it's a little exorbitant, I would think.
I would get it if these were underpaid schlobs who's man, we really got to keep these underpaid guys around. But you're talking about guys who make $9 million. Now, not all the executives make $9 million. Granted, some executives got a $100,000 bonus or something like that. But a dude who makes $9 million on top of whatever incentives and bonuses he gets a special one of $3 million because times are hard. Again, at some point, optics shouldn't govern your policy, but optics need to be taken into consideration. And just the pure optics of this, especially when we just heard them begging government to give them bailout money, and we see them, sorry guys that you all have to lose your jobs, but hey, that's the times. But we've got $4 million kicking around that we can give to the CEO that we already pay $9 million a year to. It's just a bad look. Now, granted, guys, maybe my perception's a little clouded. Maybe I'm a little overly emotional about it. I admit that. It's the Italian blood in me. Maybe I do. So, guys, question is, Rob's got some more balanced views of it. What do you guys think about this? CEO of AMC gets a almost $4 million bonus when he already makes $9 million a year for laying off 30,000 people in an industry that's struggling to keep their head above water. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. But what do you guys think? Maybe you have a different perspective on it than ones that Rob already gave and ones that I've gave. Maybe you have a different look on it. What do you guys think? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down and out of the way, let's now move on and start taking your live questions, shall we? You guys have already been sending in a bunch of live questions. Here's how you send in a live comment or question to be on the show. Simply use the tip link that's in the description of this video and just go in there manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. Once you guys get there, make sure you remember to fill out your name part, because some people forget to put in their name, and when they do, it just shows up as anonymous. And I want to make sure you guys get a shout out. If you're going to send in a fun question and you support the show, then I want to make sure you get a shout out. Anyway, guys, with that said, let's get on to it, shall we? And we're going to get things started off here with Bryce, Sons of Anarchy Hug, who writes, I actually think the aerospace engineer is Ben Grimm. I've been hearing a lot of that. I think this is a character reveal that's big enough to create excitement. I don't think so. Behind Fantastic Four, but doesn't give us the big casting reveal just yet. But who knows today? Yeah, now especially when we've only got one episode left. But I guess, different ways. Ben Grimm has been revealed sometimes to just kind of be muscle and not really all that bright. Sometimes he's been portrayed as being like the super intelligent guy. But would that constitute like a big, huge reveal? I don't think so. And it's looking more and more like they're not revealing anybody else from other properties. Anyway, Tony W. writes, one of two. Hey, John and Rob. Recently, I watched my favorite movie, Blade, and after watching it, I have a few concerns about Mahershala Ali taking on this character. Without a doubt, he can land a dialogue performance, but can he violently kick ass like Snipes? Is there a part two? Has Mahershala Ali kick ass in action movies before? I feel like Mr. Snipes adds martial arts IQ and body language to his performance, just like Michael J. White or Bruce Lee. What do you think? Have the best birthday, and thank you for being awesome. So this was sent in on Friday's, the last show, obviously. Rob, to me, to pull off great action scenes, you don't need your lead actor to be great at doing action. There's a lot of different ways throughout Hollywood history that good directors have been able to make fantastic action sequences, sometimes not using their lead actor to do it, but rather using stand-ins or things like that. And they make sure they train their actors well enough, like Keanu Reeves when they were doing the first Matrix. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff of them training Keanu Reeves to do stuff.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor learning the swordsmanship for the Star Wars movies he appeared in. There's a lot of ways you can do it. So just being such a good actor that Mahershala Ali is, I have very little doubt that in the hands of the right director, with the right choreographers, and an actor of the caliber of Mahershala Ali, I have very little doubt that he'll be able to pull something off. And again, listen, he is a better actor than Wesley Snipes. He's a better actor than most people in the world, Mahershala Ali. So he'll definitely do better than Wesley Snipes did on that level. As far as action goes, Snipes has got him there, but they will be able to compensate for that and I think make it look great. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. You train an actor. That's what they do. And you teach him the moves. I think Mahershala Ali, I love the way he looks. When you've seen him play roles he's a dangerous dude. He's got a great look. He can be very compassionate, but I think he can be we saw that in Power Man. Luke Cage. And I think that he's going to kick ass as Blade. I can't wait to see him as Blade. I think they're going to teach him. They'll teach him just fine.
By the way,
he's going to wield a sword. He's going to be one hell of a daywalker, and I'm all here for it.
By the way, he can pull off menacing so well. Like,
Oh,
even if
yeah.
you just go back and look at Alita Battle Angel, remember
Yeah.
him? Like, he can just pull that. He's got a presence about him that
Yeah,
is
man.
going to be, and don't get me wrong, I loved Wesley Snipes as Blade. I totally did. But Mahershala
I
Ali,
did too.
I think they hit the lottery when they got him to sign up for this. So we'll see how that transpires. All right, next up, Xander Xerxes writes, Spider-Man No Way Home will be a story about the cast of Spider-Man getting trapped in the Sony Spider-Verse, and by the end of that movie, hence No Way Home. Well, Rob, that's actually not a bad theory, because there's been a lot of speculation that, you know, they could be prepping to move the Tom Holland Spider-Man into the Sonyverse, Spider-Verse, and away from the MCU. The one catch with that, though, is that we know he's going to appear in Doctor Strange 2. And so that's the one kind of little catch on that, unless they bring him back. I don't know. What do you think about that theory that Xander Xerxes is putting forth there?
Well, you know, I even said on my own show, I said, I'll bet you that in Spider-Man 3, I don't know anything about this, that there's an animated sequence where Spider-Man, our Spider-Man, Tom Holland meets Miles Morales. And they go into the Spider-Verse universe that we saw in Sony, and it's an animated sequence. If the multiverse plays a big part in Spider-Man 3, I said, I'll bet you that happens, because how cool would that be?
That could be pretty interesting. That's a really good observation. All right, next up, anonymous viewer writes, coincidentally, you brought this series up recently, but it looks like Jeepers Creepers 4 was announced secretly shot with a trilogy planned, luckily without the original director involved. There's been praise and backlash, but we'll see how this thing plays out. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, Rob. News came out that they're doing they shot another Jeepers Creepers movie, kind of secretly.
I know.
And look, I adore that first Jeepers Creepers. The first one, it has a special place in my heart, man. I love that movie. The other ones, forget about it. I'm not going to lie. I don't have a tremendous amount of interest in this. I really don't. Now, I'm open to the idea that maybe they make it and it harkens to the greatness of the first one. If so, great. I'm not really excited about it right now, but we'll see what it does when it's made. You got any interest in this, Rob?
Why not? You know, I'll watch it. Sure.
All right, next up, this comes to us from John Ashford, who writes, hello, John and Aaron. Aaron's obviously not here today. Glad to see the honorary Detroit girl. Who do you think the Blade big bad will be? And how far do you think Marvel will dip into the supernatural? Will we see Ghost Rider or Werewolf by Night stay well? I believe we are going to see Ghost Rider, Rob, and Werewolf by Night. I do think we're going to see those eventually. I don't know how quickly they're going to move on that. As far as who will the big baddie be, I don't know. I really don't. Right now, I don't care. Like, right now, I really don't care. All that matters is, do you write a great villain? And whether that's a villain that's a recognizable villain to the people in the MCU. I mean, they used Dracula in Blade Trinity. That wasn't so good.
Hey, Dracula there's a great X-Men annual with Dracula.
I mean, Dracula's Dracula. I mean, Dracula's the coolest, maybe one of the coolest characters ever conceived of in fiction. But just because you get a great character doesn't mean it's going to be done well. And they used him in Blade Trinity, and it was so bad. But we'll see, John. We'll see. All right, next up, Sanji writes, in the same interview, Tom Holland said that he was taking a year off to travel, go skiing, etc. Things that kids this age should do. I'll never blame him for taking time for himself, and it shows how grounded he is. Well, listen, yeah, we'll see if he actually takes a year off. But listen, when you're somebody like Tom Holland and you've got millions in the bank, why not take a year off? I mean, it depends on where your career is at, but his career is in a place right now that he can step away for 1 year, not do any projects for 1 year, and he'll be totally fine. And so if you are in a position to do that, like, guess what, Rob? If I had $7 million in the bank right now, I would probably consider taking a year off myself. I would probably do that. And it's not like he doesn't know, like, if he's gone for one, like, unlike me, if I stepped away from the year, my YouTube channel would dry up and there wouldn't be an audience there when I came back. Tom Holland, take 1 year off? No big deal. There will still be companies lining up to hire him when he comes back. I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, Jennifer Lawrence took like a year off, or maybe even 2 years to go to work on her political activism or whatever. I mean, I think, remember the way movies work, you could shoot a movie that isn't coming out in a year, take a year off, and the movie comes out and you seem just as relevant as ever. I think the way, look at Tom Holland's work schedule, especially on these MCU movies. My God, you know, he's worked for what, 6 years, and his whole youth. You want to take some time off and like live. You know, you've made some money, you've got some comfort in your life. Go take a long vacation and enjoy yourself. Otherwise, your youth disappears. And yeah, you've got the movies and the money to show for it, but did you really live?
Yeah, and she's got that movie coming out now with DiCaprio, one about spotting the meteor. That's got like one of the biggest casts in the history of movies.
Yeah, directed by the guy who directed The Big
Short. That's right.
Adam.
All right, let's move on here. Next up, I don't pay for porn, writes shrewd businessman. Reviews for Cherry are not great. No, they are not great. The Russos and Tom Holland haven't done much outside of the MCU. It seems like most of the directors and actors of the MCU need it to survive, especially those two, Hemsworth and Olsen. Well, I mean, I don't know about that on a grander scale thing. Like, you look at Chris Evans and things like that. There are people who can succeed outside of the MCU. The last time I checked, Rob, Cherry, which had looked terrific, and it sounds amazing. The last time I looked, Cherry had a 37% rating, and even the ones that liked it sort of liked it, it seemed. And I talked to a few friends of mine also who watched it, and I never did get around to it, who were not impressed with it. They didn't like it. Now, again, I say that with the caveat that I haven't seen it myself, so maybe I'll love it. Just because some other people don't like it doesn't mean I won't. But yeah, it's tough because like the three main projects that the Russos have been behind and have been overall in charge of. So you're talking about, what was it called? The one with Chadwick Boseman, 21 Bridges? I keep forgetting the number. Yeah. 21 Bridges, 22 Bridges, whatever. That was terrible. I didn't like that movie at all. Then they did Extraction, which a lot of people do like. I thought it was a very poor movie. I thought it was a poor movie with some fantastic action. Fantastic action, terrific car, but I thought overall the movie was actually pretty poor. And now what's coming out from Cherry, I haven't seen it yet, but I am a big fan of the Russos. I think these two are fabulous guys. And what they were able to do in partnership with Kevin Feige and the folks at Marvel are, you don't even have to go into it. We know what they've done with Kevin Feige and Marvel. But I'm really waiting for them to turn out something brilliant without Kevin Feige being there holding their hand. And I'm just kind of waiting for that. And I haven't seen it yet, but it looks like Cherry isn't it either. I don't know, Rob, what are your expectations, Cherry? What do you think about where they're at right now? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've read a lot of not good reviews and people commenting on Cherry. I want it to be good. I mean, but I think, you know, I could see that the Russo brothers don't want to be pigeonholed as Marvel directors.
Absolutely.
So they wanted to do something unique, hopefully to break out and prove that there's a lot more going on with them.
But then why constantly use MCU actors? Chadwick Boseman, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Holland, but actors they know and trust.
But I think because I think those are great actors.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I mean, they were great actors before they got to the MCU, and they're Chad Boseman, again, winning for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom last night, which I thought was his performance was just searing. And I think, you know, if you know these people and you already have, it's like Martin Scorsese using Leonardo DiCaprio over and over and over again. If you know somebody and you have a good rapport with them, why not use them?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, how often has Tim Burton done that with Johnny Depp, or on and on and on? So that's a good point. All right, next up, we've got Hilarion writes, 1 of 6. Okay, buckle in. Here we go. John, you frequently talked about the theory that the villainous turn of Agnes into Agatha may actually just be another part of Wanda's reality. Well, that was somebody else's theory that I really liked. I really liked that theory a lot. May actually turn up another part of Wanda's reality construct, and her vision needed a villain to overcome. I would like to add an amendment to that. Remembering Agatha's theme, who's been messing up everything? Remember how Wanda previously stated she doesn't remember how this even started? I theorize that the WandaVision reality is actually Agatha's. She's the director, creator of the show. The Hex, well, of course, we now know that's not true. We now know because we've seen episode 8 now. The Hex may be all Wanda created to keep Vision alive, and originally only surrounding just him, but then Agatha or her benefactor caught wind of Wanda's reality warping powers and manipulated the situation into her own nefarious purposes. Perhaps we'll learn that it's Agatha's/benefactor who are fans of sitcoms and knowing of Wanda's tragic story through public knowledge of or mind-reading abilities, use the idealized life of TV tropes to keep Wanda docile and complacent. In this new reality, the villains begin messing up everything and pulling every evil string. What was once a small individual-sized hex needed to grow in order for Agatha and her benefactor to grow stronger as they feed off Yo Magic. Thoughts? By the way, I finally signed up for your Patreon today. Oh, thank you for that, Hilarion. After following you since the tail end of the AMC Movie Talk days. Well, thank you so much for that, and thank you for sending that in. And obviously, yeah, that didn't happen. Now, Rob, I really got into the idea. You remember a viewer sent in a theory that what if Agatha isn't real? Like Agatha's just an extension of the Agnes character, and that's why she got her own show intro. And I loved that theory. Like I never bought in that that's what they're going to do, but I loved it. Obviously, now we know it was all Wanda. Wanda did it all. She was being manipulated at certain points. She was. But it was all Wanda. Agatha saw what Wanda was doing and just wanted to know how she's doing it. It looks like there is no benefactor. I mean, we still have one episode to go, so a Mephisto, a Nightmare, something like that could still be on the table. It's looking less likely, but they are still possibilities. A lot of those things we saw are that. But, you know, Rob, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we have now seen episode 8. And I haven't had a chance just to ask you, just what are your general thoughts of episode 8 as a whole?
Dude, that line of dialogue, what is grief but love persevering? It really hit me hard, that episode. I thought it was far more emotional than I possibly could have imagined it being. And the fact that a Marvel show would have become a whole treatise on grief is something that I wasn't prepared for. And I thought it was wonderful. And I was blown away by it, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And we're heading now into the final episode. I am so stoked for this last episode. I have no idea what's coming. They did put out one promo image of like Wanda, Vision, and the two kids all standing side by side, looking like they're getting ready to fight somebody, whether it's Sword Agents or White Vision or Agnes or Agatha or whoever it is. But it looks like they're going to fight side by side. Probably Monica Rambeau is going to come sailing in and fight alongside them as well. And maybe Pietro might come flying in there to fight at their side too. Could be interesting. By the way, 84 and a half hours, ladies and gentlemen. 84 and a half hours until WandaVision's next episode. The countdown continues. All right. Thanks a lot, Hilarion, for writing all that in, man. Creative Differences writes, earlier you guys were talking about Tom Holland negotiating a new contract with Kevin Feige and Disney and Sony. Don't forget that. But isn't this contractual actually Sony? Yeah, that's why we mentioned Sony in with that. I thought Spider-Man was on loan to the MCU, but still Sony property, or am I missing something? No, we kept saying Marvel because Marvel is the one actually making the movie. But if you go back, we mentioned like this, any negotiations for a contract have to be done through Sony. As long as Spider-Man's going to be in the MCU and Kevin Feige has to use him in those movies, you know that Kevin Feige is going to be part of those negotiations as well, to some degree. But you are right. At the end of the day, it's Sony's decision. Sony will make those ultimate decisions. Of course, if they're still working with Marvel in the MCU, of course they're going to want Kevin Feige to sign off on those things. They're going to want him to do that. They're going to want his input. They're going to want him to be part of those discussions. Of that, I have no doubt. But you are right. At the end of the day, that is ultimately going to be Sony's decision. All right, next up, War Doctor 10 writes, hey, John and crew, will I be able to watch the Paramount Plus shows through Amazon Prime like I was able for CBS All Access? What are your thoughts? Well, Rob, my understanding of this is like on Amazon and Apple TV Plus, like, for example, there's Showtime. But you can subscribe to Showtime through the Amazon app and have it added on to Amazon. They also did that for HBO. I think they may still do that for HBO Max. I'm not sure, but they used to be able to where you could do that. So my guess right now is that yes, probably you'll be able to subscribe to Paramount through Amazon. I'm guessing, but if not, then you just have to sign up for an own. Rob, do you think they're going to go that route, or do you think they're going to try to keep it as separate as possible?
Ooh, I think they could go that route. I do.
And by the way,
Maybe.
you see them making a lot of big moves. They announced a G.I. Joe show. They announced like even the formation of like Avatar Studios. They made their announcements with Quiet Place 2 and Mission Impossible 7 on a 45-day window. It looks like they're making some pretty big moves right now. We'll see how that all turns out. All right, next up. War Doctor 10 writes, "Hey, John and crew, according to guidelines given by Gavin Newsom, theme parks can reopen once orange tier is reached, and Disney hasn't canceled annual passes outright. They will be bringing them back in some capacity in the future. Check out Fresh Bake." Oh, listen, I wish I had it right now. I wish I had it right in front of me. You know, I'm a big fan of Disney. I am. And I love Disneyland. I do. That was effing Bush League. They canceled our memberships. That was Bush League.
What's up with that?
They should have grandfathered it out. They should have said, okay, moving forward, we're not going to sell any more new ones. And even that is BS. But yeah, I got my refund check literally in the mail. Last night, Ann and I got home. We opened up our mail, and there was, Ann and I both had our refund checks for the balance of our membership. Yeah, they say they're going to do something in the future, but I don't know. I think they just realized, you know what? We can make a buttload of more money if we don't sell annual passes. And to their thing, Rob, I don't know if you've ever held a Disneyland annual pass, but it's a good value. Like when you consider how much it costs to go to Disneyland, Ann and I buy Disneyland passes. You know, we bend over, they lube up, pull money out of our asses. I mean, it's expensive, but if you go more than 4 times, it totally pays for itself. And Ann and I, living where we live, we would go like once a month. Sometimes more. We just hop in the car, shoot out to Disneyland to go and hang out for at Disneyland for the afternoon. We loved it. And I think they just realized, you know what? We can make a lot more money if we don't sell these passes. I am personally pretty perturbed by it, but I don't know, Rob, what do you think about that whole move of theirs?
I thought it was lame. I mean, I understand, but it seems to me like it was just a housekeeping deal. Like, oh, we don't want to keep track. We don't want to advance everybody their memberships by a year, or taking our loyal customers. We won't take that into account. We're just you're done. I was like, that's lame.
Yeah, it's pretty lame. All right,
way to service your hardcore fan base that lays out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars every year to go to your theme parks. Thank you.
All right, next up, War Doctor also writes, Disney has a bunch of videos about it on their channel. What are your thoughts? Again, I haven't watched their videos on it. I do hope, though, with the decreasing numbers, the increasing in immunizations, the more availability of hospital beds, I thought a long time ago they should have been making out these protocols for safety in theme parks. And I do hope they're able to get open again, if they can find a way to do it right and safely. All right. Keena writes, "Hey, John, I hope all is well. All is well, thank you. What if Agatha is the personification of whatever that book is, which could still be the case? The book has been there all along, but only awakened when the hex went up." Again, though, that we kind of got our answers to that in episode 9 when we saw go all the way back to her origins back in the 16th century. I thought that scene was great, by the way. And by the way, Rob, that whole scene back in Salem explains the Yo Magic commercial a bit, right? She literally pulled out and fed off the energy of the other witches, which I thought was interesting. So we know that that's the case on that one now, Blake. But good theory, man. Brian O'Connor writes, "Steven Soderbergh's The Knick, one of the greatest shows that nobody watched, is now available on HBO Max. Clive Owen and Andre Holland both deliver Emmy-worthy performances here. I cannot wait for the Barry Jenkins spin-off series. Give this a try." I'll tell you what, Rob, did you ever, you watched The Knick, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, exactly. I remember our mutual friend, Dennis Zen, the great Dennis Zen, he loved that show. I mean,
I loved it too.
But give everybody a basic rundown about what The Knick was. By the way, SC sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, SC.
It was a period medical series, and it was dealing. It wasn't like it was not. I mean, that doesn't do it justice. But it was really well done, and it was really well acted, and it was also historical, and there was just something about it that I found really, really interesting about sort of, I wouldn't call it the dawn of medicine, but certainly that was part of it. And I loved it. Soderbergh was involved. He did it. I mean, it was his show. I loved it. I thought it was great.
All right. And Rob, we kept you overtime here again today, but thank you for being here. We'll, of course, see you back here again tomorrow. But in the meantime, where can people follow you and your great adventures? And just tell everybody really quick about the two big projects you've got like out there right now.
Oh, well, of course, my film not my film, our film that I produced and edited, Tango Shalom. It's kind of an indie spiritual quest family dance comedy fable.
I love that.
It'll actually be airing. You'll be able to see it on the internet because it won Best Film and Best Actor at the Montreal Independent Film Festival. And it's now part of the Toronto Independent Film Festival. And they're going to be airing it on the March 3rd, on Wednesday, between 3 o'clock in the afternoon and midnight. It'll be showing exclusively, so you can see it. And then there's also Dota Dragon's Blood, a Netflix animated series that I worked on as the animatic editor for the last 2 years, and that drops on March 25th. So that's very exciting. If you play Dota, the game, I think you're really going to like the show. It's it's a very hard-hitting fantasy, very adult-oriented with a lot of mythology, and Dota players would like to know a lot of lore, and it's very, very cool. So check that out. And then you can also find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and my show, Robservations. Find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, and find me on Instagram. And also, I did an epic 3-hour video for you over the weekend, John. It took me 2 days to do it. And I don't know if you put that up yet, but I answered lots of questions.
It went up this morning. It's up there.
Oh, I love doing that. For almost 3 hours long.
All right, guys. That's the great Mr. Robert Burnett. Rob, have a great day, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow, my friend. Have a good one. All right, guys, that is Robert Meyer Burnett. Make sure you go check out those projects of his, Tango Shalom, Dota Dragon's Blood. Very excited for both those things. Okay, guys, let's keep things going here. Next up, we've got Blake Mason, who writes, I had a theory. Let me get my headphones off here. It's always more comfortable without them, even though my JBL headphones are fantastic. Thank you, JBL. All right, I had a theory. Maybe the different Spider-Man titles that were teased for the upcoming movie means that the three characters get separated and go into their own multiverse. They each need the help of a different Spider-Man to help them get home. I really don't think so. I've heard a number of theories about people thinking that there was, like, you remember, because Tom Holland said phone home. Jacobs said home wrecker. And then Zendaya's one said home slice. I really honestly just think Sony said, go ahead and make some stuff up. I really don't think there's anything more deep to it than that. Even though I thought, look at the colors of each of them are different, but there's probably nothing to that. But hey, man, it's fun to theorize, and maybe we'll find out it actually has deeper meaning sometime in the future. All right, next up, Dempsey writes, hey, John, hope you're okay. I am, thank you. I had a silly thought. Hope it makes you laugh. Should the GOAT, Daniel Day-Lewis, walk in and shout, I am Mephisto, will Anne need to phone for an ambulance for you? I know he's your favorite actor. Well, actually, no. Daniel Day-Lewis is actually not my favorite actor. He is the greatest actor of all time. He's the best. He is the Bret Hart of acting. Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. He is the GOAT. All right? He's the Tom Brady of acting. The GOAT. Undisputed, the GOAT. But he's not my favorite actor. I love him, but he's not my favorite actor. Kind of like Wayne Gretzky is the greatest hockey player of all time, but he's not my favorite hockey player. My two favorite hockey players are Mario Lemieux and Mike Bossy. Mike Bossy goes back to when I was a little kid and everything, but Mike Bossy and Mario Lemieux are my two favorite hockey players. But he's not my favorite. But still, if Daniel Day-Lewis popped up in WandaVision, the greatest actor of all time comes in, and I don't care if he comes in and says, I'm Mephisto. I don't care if he comes walking in and says, I'm Frank. Or if he walks in and says, I'm Dubois. Or if he walks in and says, I'm, what was Tony Stark's brother's name? I keep forgetting. What was Tony Stark? In the comic books, Tony Stark has a brother, and I'm trying to remember, but whatever. I'm so-and-so Stark. Or if he walks in and says, I'm Nightmare. Or if he walks in and says, I'm Mephisto. I don't care. Daniel Day-Lewis, the greatest actor of all time, walks in and says, I'm Ralph. Somebody just AP wrote in the live chat, says, I'm Ralph. Walks in and says, I'm Ralph. Or maybe Wanda splits open the multiverse and comes and says, I'm Abraham Lincoln, as somebody in the live chat just kind of put in there. That would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. All right, next up. Campea Rules writes, 1 of 4. Hey, John, big fan of the show. Thank you so much. So I've noticed as a result of your great content, your audience engagement has jumped. This means the level of questions sent in has surged as well. Like for your spoiler discussion, etc., it can often take you days, almost a week before you can get caught up. No, we do keep it down to just 1 or 2 days. We have been able to keep it to 1 or 2 days. Like for instance, even though twice last week we were all caught up. There are 2 times last week that we got all caught up. Now, over the weekend, obviously, we didn't do a show Friday, so we fell behind. You guys know Friday was my birthday, so I took Friday off. We didn't do a regular John Campea show on Friday. So we had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So right now we've got questions going all the way back to Thursday because that's the last show that we did. But we have been doing a much, much better job of keeping up with all the questions, partially thanks to, of course, Kimberly Curran, who does companion videos with me now. So we are doing a much better job of getting those questions answered a lot more quickly. Rob helps out by doing some companion videos. Kimberly comes in and helps me do companion videos. I think we've been doing a pretty good job of keeping pretty up. Again, Mondays are hard because they build up over the weekend and we didn't do a show on Friday, but I think we've been doing a pretty good job. But anyway, also, before you get caught up, simply due to the increased load of questions. I know you're already working your ass off to manage everything, but I'm sure you have noticed this trend. I wonder how you will be able to continue to handle everything with only 24 hours in a day. It's a gift and a curse. What are your thoughts on how you can address this as your audience and daily questions continues to increase? It's great to have people like Robert Meyer Burnett help you, but honestly, we are here to see John Campea. Again, I love your show. I just miss the days when I could submit a question and get it answered on the same day on the show. And that has happened. Like last week, we did have a couple of episodes where questions that were sent in that day actually got answered. And we are working to getting back to that thing. But you're right. It is a wonderful problem to have. It is a wonderful problem to have that so many questions come in. That means we have an engaged community. We have an active community. We have a community that wants to support the show, that which allows us to hire and pay Rob and Ray and Kimberly and on and on and on and Aaron. So that's great. But it is a problem nonetheless. And we have recently taken some steps to try to make sure we are able to keep up with the questions a lot better and a lot faster. Now, if that continues to increase, then we'll have to find some other solutions moving forward as well. And one of the things is right now, like I think the minimum thing somebody tips in to send in a question is like $5. I don't know. Maybe we have to increase that to $7 to decrease the number of questions that come in. I don't know. Maybe we have to do that in the future. It's not something I'm considering doing right now, just being clear. But you're asking me, so I'll theorize that maybe to help reduce the number of questions that get sent in, maybe we have to increase that from like $5 to $7 or something like that. That way people will send in a little bit fewer questions. So I don't know. But again, it is a beautiful, wonderful problem to have. I am so lucky. Everybody involved with the John Campea YouTube channel are so lucky that we have such an engaged fan base. But it is something that we do have to make sure we address because I never want anybody to have to wait like 4 show days to have to get a question answered. And we do want to get back to making sure that like if somebody sends in a question, it's answered like within 24 hours. And so we are working towards that. I have just begun to put things in place to get caught up, and I think it's working. So we're getting there. So maybe we won't have to do anything, but maybe we'll have to do some things moving forward. I am totally open to your guys' recommendations as well. If you guys have ideas or thoughts or recommendations of what we can do, maybe hiring more on-camera staff. Maybe hiring, another person like another Robert Meyer Burnett to come in and also handle some of them. I don't know. But if you guys have some ideas, I would love to hear your thoughts. Just email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. And just put the word suggestion or something like that in the subject matter so I know what it is you guys are talking about. Okay. Let's move around. Let's keep going here. Next up, we have And thanks for that input on that, Campy Rules. Next up, Willow writes, and tips in like $20. Thank you, Willow. In a year from now, give or take a day or so, depending on when you read this tip, you will have been on this planet for exactly half a century. Hope that doesn't make you feel too old. Happy birthday. And again, happy birthday. That's right. Next year, I turn 50. Dear heavens. Next year, I turn 50. It's... I will think about that next year. But for now, I am still in my 40s. So I'm going to hang on to that. Like Rob was teasing me about that the other day. He goes, pretty soon you're going to be in the same, decade age range as me. And I'm like, I know, I'm getting there. Well, if I'm lucky enough to get there, but that will be a blessing. All right. Next up, Alan writes, hi, John. What happened to that Green Lantern series on HBO? It's still moving forward as far as I know. Why haven't we heard any big details, and have you heard anything? Also, mayonnaise is disgusting, and the condiment of hell, unless combined with ketchup, doesn't belong on hot dogs. Hashtag screw mayo. Mayo is the condiment of the gods. It is the only condiment as far as I'm concerned. There is mayo, and there is nothing else. There is, but only mayo. No, listen, I don't... We shouldn't hear big news and big announcements when things are just in their development stage. As far as I understand, the Green Lantern project is still moving ahead. They've got to work on it for a while before you're going to start hearing anything. So I wouldn't take the fact that we didn't hear a lot of things, now we haven't heard a lot of things about it yet at this point. I wouldn't worry about that. I really wouldn't. As far as I know, everything's still moving forward as planned. All right. Scott Brown writes, I agree with you that week-to-week releases is better than all at once for a series. At least from a business point of view, it is. One thing that's important that all at once takes away is the conversation and speculation because no one is on the same episode. Hard to talk about giving spoilers. I mean, that's the thing. When you drop, I am a binger, just like a lot of you guys. But when you do what Netflix does and you just drop an entire series at once, nobody is at the same spot in the show, right? So what we've been able to do, what we used to be able to do for Game of Thrones, or what we were able to do for Mandalorian, what we are currently doing with WandaVision, where all of us as fans are always at the same spot, it's not like one person finished watching the whole series on day 1 and a bunch of other fans finished it on day 5 and a bunch of other fans didn't finish it for several weeks. We're all at the same place. And so we were able to buzz about, talk about, theorize about, discuss, analyze, and hype up, and then do it all again next week, and then do it all again next week. And that's why the ratings for WandaVision just keep climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. And it really does work in their benefit, Scott. All right, next up. The Wakanda Forever writes, Woo, is Erin wearing a Kiss shirt? That's right, she did wear a Kiss shirt on our last episode. I had no idea she was a Kiss. She's actually a big Kiss fan. She considers herself a member of the Kiss Army. I saw them live at Oracle Arena in Oakland, California. My all-time favorite band, Kiss Army. John, tell the truth. Kimberly and Erin are too good to be true. Grown in a lab or fembots, LOL. No, I am, listen, when you talk about the people that I work with right now, obviously, Aaron, I've known for over 10 years. Rob, who is great. Kimberly, who I needed some help with companion videos. She has been marvelous. They're all great. They're all fantastic. Now, I really do want to keep my team very, very small. I don't want to create another AMC or Collider situation. I want to keep my team very, very small. And just have like a very, very small team with really, really good people. And I've been very, very lucky to work with some of the best and continue to, Wakanda, and I really do. Next up, Capri Grant writes, John, I know you don't like these types of questions, but please, please, please indulge for this one moment. How would you react to a Marvel Fantastic Four written and directed by Ben Affleck, who also plays Reed Richards, acting opposite Nicole Kidman as Sue? Oh my God. Well, I mean, if you're asking me that theoretically, if I heard that announcement, how would I react? Here's how I would react. Again, I don't care. Generally, all I ever ask or care about is that you're getting somebody who's a good actor. And Ben Affleck, obviously, I have thought for a long time that Ben Affleck is a really underrated, exceptional actor. He's been in some terrible movies, sure, but it doesn't take away that I think he's a great actor. Obviously, Nicole Kidman is one of the best of the generation. So yeah, if you're not asking me what would I think about this? But you're asking me, okay, theoretically, that announcement gets made. How do I feel about it? Well, they're both great actors, so I'd be all for it. I would be all for it. I think they're terrific actors. So if the people who are making the movie think that Ben Affleck and Nicole Kidman are the right fit, then all I care about is, are they good actors? They clearly are. So I would be all for it. Sure. If they made that announcement. All right. Next up. And Capri also writes, I was thinking about the MCU's future and the powers of these characters have skyrocketed. If Wanda, for example, isn't nerfed, locked up, or killed, there is no real threat to Earth unless you have a celestial level antagonist, Galactus, incoming. That is one of my criticisms about Marvel right now, is everything seems to be hyper overpowered. Everything is so overpowered. Like Vision, if you understand Vision, is super, like global threat kind of power. Thor, they've made global threat kind of power. Hulk, at least until they kind of, what's the best word I'm looking for? Circumcised him. That's the best. They neutered Hulk. But before that, he was like the nuclear explosion Hulk. Wanda, they're saying, is like global level threat. Iron Man with his new magical nanotech. Iron Man can get into a fight with Thanos. Doctor Strange is like, they've made everybody so incredibly godlike powerful. At Captain Marvel, as well. It does get a little. You're running the risk of the law of diminishing returns, right? Like you just got to keep upping it. You got to keep upping it. Now this character is this powerful. Oh yeah? Well, now this character is this powerful. And it again, it's laws of diminishing returns a little bit. The one person somebody just pointed out in the live chat too, the one person they haven't done that to yet is like Spider-Man. But even then they're like, oh, you know what? Spider-Man's not good enough. Make it Spider-Man with Iron Man armor. You're like, I don't know. It is the one thing they just keep hyping it up. Everything just keeps hyping up way too much. And so like, even now they're talking about new characters to bring in. We're talking about like, Blue Marvel, right? Coming in. It's like, that dude is like crazy powerful, but I don't know. It just seems to be one of the things I hope they keep an eye on. I just hope they keep an eye on. All right. Alpha Kevin writes, maybe the real aerospace engineer is the friends we made. It's the friends we made. I like that. Well said, Alpha Kevin. Nice reference. Jada writes, hey, John, hope you're doing well. I am doing well, thank you. I'm curious now that the MCU consists of Disney Plus shows as a part of the phases. How do you think they will be spaced out with MCU movies once theaters are fully open again? Thank you for this show and keep it going. I honestly think there's not really going to be much to it. There's no, like, somebody was brought up the other day and said, wow, can you have this show on Disney Plus and this movie opening up only like 3 weeks later? Isn't that too close together? And it's like, it's never been a problem about a movie playing in theaters and a TV show playing on TV. So I don't really think they have to give much attention, if any, to how they space them out. I literally think you can end WandaVision on one day and have a Black Panther 2 open in theaters the next day. I think you can totally do that, and I don't think it impacts or has any effect on it. The only consideration you have to give it is, does WandaVision 2 lead directly into Black Panther 2? And if so, then you got to make sure WandaVision 2 has at least a week or two before Black Panther 2 comes out so people can watch it. But, they don't tie them in too carefully like that so people don't get disenfranchised. So I really don't think it's going to be much of a consideration, John. I really don't think it will. We'll find out, though, as we move forward. All right, next up. Hat Trick writes, maybe Wanda says no more mutants, but the phrase is constructed differently. For example, no more mutants, or no more mutants. Love the show. Well, again, they aren't bringing mutants into this. At least I don't think so. We still have one episode to go. Anything can happen. I don't think they're bringing mutants into it. I don't think they're doing any of that kind of stuff. They've still never uttered the word mutant ever. I still don't think they will, but we do have one more episode to go. Kevin Feige loves throwing us curveballs. You never know. We'll see what happens there. All right, next up, Trey Brown writes, What if Agatha blackmails Wanda into opening that book, which probably opens up the multiverse in exchange for her children back, because Agatha has someone, she lost herself and wants to pull them from a different universe. Well, the one thing that does play into that theory, and obviously we know that's not exactly how it works, but the one thing that plays into that theory, and Leandro sends in a super chat badge in the live chat, thank you, Leandro, is of course that one scene in an earlier episode in WandaVision when Sparky dies and the kids ask Wanda to bring it back to life, to bring the dog back to life. And Agnes looks at her, and I think this was her being honest. Agnes looks at Wanda and says, you can do that? That almost maybe implies that Agatha or Agnes, whatever, has somebody she wants brought back, and maybe that's what attracted her to Wanda's power. Don't know. That could still come into play in episode 9. We'll see if it does, Trey. All right, next up. Rolf the dog writes, wanted to write in and say thanks for all you do. Well, thank you, man. My favorite aspect of the show is enjoying the friendship and camaraderie between you and Rob. In my opinion, you are both on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest online film pundits to ever grace the web. Hashtag stay sweaty. Oh, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. And it is a fun space to be in. And I am very, very lucky and fortunate to, over the course of my career, work with some truly talented and gifted people over the course of my career, from, the great Dennis Zen, a Christian Harloff, a John Schnepp, an Amy Rose Eisenbach, an Ashley Mova, a Mark Ellis, many others. Too many I could even, I'm sure there's many others I'm not mentioning right now that I totally could. But Rob's one of the best. Rob is one of the best. And I've been very, very lucky to work with some great people and find some really, really magnificent people and bring them in and work with them. And it's been one of the truly great privileges of my career up until this point. So thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. The Black Knight writes, hey, John, I think it's naive to hang your hat on Vision is dead theory on the back of a video the kids made in Far From Home. The survival of Viz could easily be a need-to-know basis. If I misplaced a couple of megaton nukes, you bet there be consequences. Well, here's the thing. I know it's possible that Vision could still be alive after WandaVision. Sure, it could be. But I just think from everything we look at, the last episode showed us clearly Vision's dead. Vision is dead. This thing that is in the hex with Wanda is not actually Vision. It looks like Vision. It walks like Vision. It talks like Vision. It even thinks it's Vision. But you and I now know it's not actually Vision. It's something else that she created. Wanda, over Vision's body, knew that Vision was gone. He wasn't in there anywhere. So whatever this white Vision is, that ain't Vision either. So yes, on top of all that, we have a reference in Far From Home mentioning Vision's dead. But even without that reference, I think the show, even before episode 8, has made it pretty clear that Vision's dead. Then again, that's just a theory. He could actually be alive, after WandaVision episode 9 is done. It's possible. I don't think so. And it's not just based on what was said in Far From Home, although that's a pretty compelling piece of evidence. But it's not just based on that. It's all this other stuff as well. So we'll see. I mean, there have been many theories that I've been dead on about, and there have been many theories I've been wrong about, just like all of us. But yeah, I don't think it's silly to have a strong theory that Vision doesn't make it out of this. I don't think it's silly at all. It may end up being that he does, and that's okay. But I don't think it's silly to think that at all. All right, by the way, Ordinary People sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Ordinary People. Appreciate that. All right, next up. Chris writes, hey, John, love all that you do. Thank you so much, Chris. I know you aren't a fan of Christian movies. Not at all. I really dislike Christian movies. And I developed my dislike for Christian movies in seminary. It's where I developed my dislike of Christian movies. Anyway, but you should check out the TV show The Chosen, starring Jonathan Rooney as Jesus. It's a really solid show and was pleasantly surprised by it. Check it out if you can. I've never heard of the show. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend like, yeah, I'm going to go check that out. I am so far behind on the television that I need to watch. And so far behind on shows that I am highly, highly interested in that I'm not going to lie to you, I probably will never even get the opportunity to get caught up on this. I've never heard of this one, but If it's one you got, maybe for those of you who are interested in those types of shows, maybe you can check it out and maybe it's really good. Again, it's just not one that interests me. And if I didn't already have so much television that I am very interested in, that I am so far behind on, maybe I'd check it out, but I just don't have the time to. But thank you for throwing in that recommendation, Chris. I appreciate that. All right, next up. Phil Desamores writes, wild thoughts before episode 7 drops. Well, that was episode 8. The ultimate callbacks, a take of two. Engineer is Reed Richards, played by Ian Gruffin, who played, of course, Reed Richards in the original Fantastic Four movies. Feige tongue out to the fans, or Miles Teller, middle finger to the fans. Big Bad is Mephisto, or Nightmare, played by Terrence Howard. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see Terrence Howard working with Marvel anytime soon. Yeah, Marvel burnt that bridge with Terrence Howard a long time ago. And by the way, Terrence Howard, and I don't blame him necessarily, Terrence Howard is still really bitter at Marvel about that whole thing, so we're not going to see that. And by the way, Miles Teller, I'll say something a little controversial here. Miles Teller was a perfectly good Reed Richards. The problem was the script. The problem wasn't any of the performances. The problem wasn't any of the performers. The problem with that movie was the script. And of course, the massive amount of interference that Fox had on Josh Trank's movie. Of course, Trank was basically pulled out. They said all these things they were cool with him doing. Then all of a sudden they changed his mind. They wanted to make it completely. I mean, that movie needs a documentary about it. That Fantastic Four movie needed John Schnepp to make The Death of Fantastic Four, What Happened documentary. That's what that needed. That needed that badly. But honestly, Miles Teller is an awesome actor. He is not a good actor. Miles Teller is an awesome actor. And like J.K. Simmons says, he's one of the finest actors he's ever worked with. And I think he is just that good. So I don't think the problem was the performances so much. Anyway. All right, next up. Phil also writes, hey, John and Co., I introduced a friend to an old show that was the last to fill me with the kind of addictive fix that WandaVision does. It was Flash Forward. Resembles what world must have been like at the initial snap. Thoughts on that old show? Bring it back. I've never even heard of Flash Forward. At least not off the top of my head. Let me see. Let me look it up here. So Flash Forward. Yeah, I've never even heard of this. It was a short-lived series. It ran from 2009 to 2010. Oh, it had Courtney B. Vance in it. I like Courtney B. Vance. It had Joseph Fiennes, Ralph Fiennes' brother. Those are the two best. That is the best brother acting duo in the history of Hollywood. Ralph Fiennes, who I believe is the best actor on the planet to not win an Academy Award yet, and Joseph Fiennes, who is another world-class actor. I contend any siblings ever in the history of Hollywood, you have never had a more powerful, when it comes to pure acting talent, sibling combo than Rafe and Joseph Fiennes. I think they are head and shoulders above the best. But no, I don't even ever recall hearing of this show. So yeah, I will keep my eye open for it in the future though, just to, if it's ever mentioned again. But it's got some excellent people connected to it. Wow. Yeah, I'm not familiar with it at all. Anyway, thanks for putting that one on the radar there, Phil. I appreciate it. All right, next up. Type 1 comedian sends in a $20 tip. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for what you do to keep us focused on what's good. Been a fan since way back. Keep up your awesome work. Well, thank you so much, Type 1 comedian. I appreciate that. And listen, I think, I said this a few months ago, but I still believe it. In the midst, it's when things are really crappy, like the whole damn pandemic thing and the theaters being down and the big movies all delayed and blah, blah. But it's when the times are crappiest that human storytelling is at its most powerful and most important. And for us as fans to still get together and to be able to talk about something we love, to be able to get together and talk about something we love is so cathartic. It's so therapeutic and it's so good. So thank you, Type 1 comedian. I appreciate that very, very much. Thanks for your kind words and thanks for being here. All right. Joseph Armias writes, is Evan Peters Pietro Quicksilver? Chthon, I never know how to pronounce this ancient god's name. The god of chaos. No, I don't think so. Now, if you understand like the history there in the comics of like chaos magic and where Agatha Harkness comes from. There's this, if you really go down to the root of it, there's this character who, Chthon, whatever, Cthulhu. I don't know how to verbally pronounce it. It's just one of those things you read all the time and you never know how to say it. This ancient god character from which it all, but I don't think they're bringing that in. I don't think so. Could be wrong, but I don't think they are. All right. Icy writes, hey, John, do you think that it's still possible that Pietro is still Peter from the Foxverse? Yes. I don't think he is, but do I think it's possible? Absolutely. And Agatha intercepted him when Wanda pulled him in. I don't know that Wanda pulled him in. I think he might be the missing witness protection person. And he's just an average, or listen. So look, on record, I have never thought that Evan Peters is Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men universe. I've never thought that, but I have always acknowledged it is definitely a possibility, and not just those random far out there theory possibilities. I mean, it's a legit possibility. Like I'm not, if we get into the final episode, I would put $5 on that Evan Peters is not the Fox X-Men Quicksilver. But would I fall out of my chair in shock and surprise if they say that he is? No, because I know it's totally possible. I mean, they did cast Evan Peters. I think it was for a massive misdirect, but it could also be because they're going to say he's the Fox X-Men thing. It's totally possible. It absolutely is. I'm not pretending that it's not. I don't think you're crazy if you think it is. I don't think it is, but I know there's a decent chance that he could be. So, we'll see how that plays out, Icy. All right, next up. Bryant Pfeiffer writes, hey, John, I meant to send this 2 episodes ago, and maybe someone has said this since that episode, but what if Wanda expanding her hex and sucking in so many more people is what causes mutants to exist in the MCU? It's changing their DNA as shown. Again, that would be a really bad move for them. Mutation is supposed to be a natural part of human evolution, right? Now, there have been iterations of the X-Men story where it like goes all the way back to the Eternals and things like that, but notwithstanding. The whole thing about mutation and its social commentary is that it's supposed to be a natural part of human evolutionary process. And so for them to just say, this happens and now there are mutants, I don't know. I don't think that's what they're doing, and I hope that's not what they do. I think that would be a pretty bad move on their part, but we will find out. Next up, Caleb writes, hey, John, when these people die, do you think they will be honored at the Oscars, Emmys, in memoriam reel? Kevin Spacey? No. Woody Allen? Ooh. Ooh. Woody Allen. I'm going to say yes, they do. Now, I'm not talking about whether I think they should or should not, but I think yes, they do. Mel Gibson, yes, they will. Roman Polanski, no, they won't. And Bill Cosby, no, they won't. Thanks and bring on the filthy. The Bill Cosby one isn't going to be difficult for them because Bill Cosby wasn't really a movie personality. I mean, he was in some movies, but Bill Cosby was never primarily known as a movie personality. He was more of a television guy. The big question will be, do the Emmys do an in memoriam of Bill Cosby? Because he was like the most powerful force on television for almost a generation, right? And I don't think they will. But I don't think they will for Kevin Spacey. I think they will for Woody Allen. I think they will for Mel Gibson. I don't think they will for Roman Polanski, although there will be a big debate about it. And definitely not for Bill Cosby, because again, I don't even think they consider him really a movie personality. All right, next up, Prof ADSV writes, by the way, was that Caleb? Yes. Prof writes, do you think the ending of WandaVision will leave the possibility of a second season? Perhaps a mashup of superhero and another TV genre. Which genre would you like to see? Listen, here's the thing. Disney likes to keep their options open, right? Disney likes to keep their options open. This is what I believe right now. I believe they are looking at WandaVision as a single, standalone, limited series, period. But, that doesn't mean they can't leave a little thread there that if they want. The thing is, though, the altered reality, living through old TV shows, that gimmick, by the end of WandaVision, that gimmick has been played out. And you notice they didn't even do that for episode 8, and I don't think they're going to do it for episode 9 either. I don't know that you can go back and play that gimmick out again. So my guess is this. I don't think there will be a WandaVision season 2, but I do think Disney likes to keep their options open. So yeah, I could see the ending of WandaVision season 2 maybe having a little thread left there that if they ever decided they wanted to in the future, they could come back to it. But I don't think they will. But you never know. They also never anticipated it was going to be this popular. Spencer S. writes, "Hey, John, when people talk about the Jersey Devil during the pregame show, they're not talking about the hockey team, but the folklore creature believed to live in the pine barren forests of South Jersey that is half horse and half bat, that is the spawn of the devil." Oh, no. And yeah, and there are a number of people who say that the whole New Jersey Devil's name, now I don't know this for a fact, just saying that, I don't know this for a fact, but that the whole New Jersey Devil's name and even the mascot is based on that urban legend and based on that mythology. So yeah, there is apparently some kind of connection there. So anyway, well pointed out, Spencer, well pointed out. All right. Anonymous on Purpose writes, 1 of 3. "Hey, John, after I saw your show the other day when you talked about the official title for Spider-Man 3, I went and watched the video they posted to release it. Go back and watch it again. Pay close attention to the transition from the whiteboard to all of the ideas they had for a title, to the black screen with the now official title logo. Looks like the flickering of an old school TV screen, not flat. The same effect they used in WandaVision when something is in the hex changes, or the barrier of the hex itself. Maybe the Spider-Man 3 title is directly connected to WandaVision, has a double meaning. After what happened to her and after what she did in Westview, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange are forced to do something, after which there is no way home for Wanda, no redemption." Well, I mean, there's a couple things here. Number one, I think we as genre fans, and I've done this myself, I fully admit I have done this, and I think all of you have too. We tend to try to look for meaning in everything. Like a transition, the color of a cupcake on a table in the background. I mean, seriously, we all, and I do this too, I do it too, we all look for deep, deep meaning in some things, and I think that sounds a little bit out there. But on the other hand, we do know that WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, and Doctor Strange 2, while not be one big major continuous story, they are a part of the same story arc. So there are connections there. So could it be? It could be. Frankly, it sounds like you're doing what a lot of us do a lot of times, is that we're just reading way too much into every little minute, insignificant detail. But it's because of that connection. It's not crazy. So I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Let's move on here. Phil Desamorse writes, "A few more things on getting X characters, but where have they been? This could be the theme that modernizes mutant resentment like racism. With talk of battle details being shared with public, how did Tony, Cap, etc. allow Sword to dismantle Vision to study? Because it's not up to them. They don't have the authority for that. Tony and Cap don't get to say what the government can and cannot do with a $3 billion hunk of vibranium. That's not their call. They don't get to make that decision. So that part isn't a thing at all. But again, the mutant thing, that it would, no, because that's not, at that point, it's not mutation, right? Any more than, is Hulk a mutant? No. Well, Hulk was an average guy. Then something profound happened to him with a gamma radiation blast, and now he's the Hulk. Is he a mutant? No. That's just something happened to him that gave him powers. If you were to rationalize that with, well, Wanda did this thing that affected certain people that gave them powers, well, then they're not mutations. They're not mutants. They've been, like the Hulk was, they were physically changed. Like Daredevil was physically changed by something, but it wasn't a natural progressive mutation of evolution. So I don't know. I might be hanging on to that part a little too much. I fully acknowledge that. I fully admit I might be holding on to that part of the history of X-Men and what mutants are a little too tightly. Maybe I am, but that's why it doesn't really work for me. All right, next up. Phil also writes, "Forgot to say, happy birthday, John. Thank you. My birthday was on Friday. Thank you for the joy you bring, the talent you share in Rob, Ann, Aaron, especially Miss Kimberly. With the reveal of Agatha last week, I re-highlight Julia's in Far From Home. I'm a man of science, but witches. Again, I don't think there's a connection there. But by the way, that line, Phil, in Far From Home was awesome. That line in Far From Home was absolutely awesome. All right, Abel Leon writes, "Hey, John, hope you have a great day." I have had great days, thank you. With Marvel's Black Widow edging ever closer, what will Marvel consider as a success? If it makes $70 million opening weekend, will Marvel see as a disappointment, or will they understand that right now it's a roll of the dice? Which Marvel movie do you think will have the best chance to make $1 billion post-pandemic? My money is on Thor: Love and Thunder. Have a great day. All right, that is a great question, Abel. And here's the thing. Right now, we are living in a period of time when what is like Aaron and I were talking about this the other on the last episode. Aaron and I were talking about, will so-and-so do well at the box office? Well, right now, the definition of well is completely different than what it was before the pandemic. I would say right now this: if WandaVision, Black Widow, if Black Widow holds its May release date, which I don't think it will. I think they'll bump it by like one more month, right? I think they'll bump it by like one more month. And by the way, let me just check this. We were on a 43-day streak in California of 43 straight days with new COVID cases going down. Let me see if it's still doing that. If it was able to beat, are we at 44? So we were at, Yep. We have gone down again. So yesterday's new cases of COVID were 4,410 new cases. For context, in January, we hit 44,000 in one day. So yesterday was 4,400 new cases, or 2 days ago was 4,400 new cases, and yesterday was 3,400 new cases. So we continue to see cases drop. We are way ahead in vaccinations. Like, they are way ahead of where they wanted to be. I remember when they said that their target, when the new president took over, they said the target is 1 million vaccinations a day. I thought that was overly ambitious. They're flirting with 2 million a day, which is great. Talks of New York theaters are opening back up on March 5th. Talks about LA theaters are going to be opening not far behind. I hope everybody stays cautious. But it's possible maybe it does come out that Black Widow comes out in May. If so, would a $70 million opening weekend be seen as a disappointment? No, that would be seen as great. I mean, to channel my inner Borat, great success. That would, and I don't think it can make 70 million opening weekend. It's just too soon. But if they were to put it out, and honestly, I think if they were to put out Black Widow, if it got a $50 million opening weekend, I would think they would have to consider that a resounding success, given the current circumstances. Given the current circumstances, right? Normally, no, a $50 million opening would not be good. But under the current circumstances, if they do put out Black Widow in May and it makes like 50 million, you got to take that as a big success. I think you do. If you hit 70 million, you're popping bottles of champagne. I think you're popping big bottles of champagne if that happens. Again, nowhere near what it could have been prior to the pandemic, but early on. Now, if they move Black Widow's release to like June or July or August, well, then the number keeps going up. But if they release it in May, 50 million would be considered a huge success, I think. But I still think they'll bump it a little bit. All right, next up. Chase writes, "Hey, John and co. I always look to you for technical advice, and it never fails. I love talking. Yeah, I'm a tech gearhead, man. I love my tech. I'll show it to you guys. Actually, let me show you a little something here. I'm just using this as an excuse to do this. I just recently, like a couple of days ago, I made the switch from Adobe Premiere, which I've used forever. And I just recently made the switch to DaVinci Resolve. And when I bought the professional, you can get a free version of DaVinci Resolve. But when you buy the studio version, which is only $300 for a lifetime license, I bought the pro version of DaVinci Resolve, and they included for free this speed editor. And I've been using this thing. And oh my God, is it ever awesome. Oh my God, this speed editor is awesome. I love it as I'm chopping up and doing editing and things like that. It makes everything go so much faster. I love it. Anyway, nobody was even asking me about that. I just decided to talk about it for a second, but let's move on. And it never fails. You inspired me to create a podcast about sneakers with my brother last year. Awesome to hear, man. It's been so much fun to do each week. We've been neglecting our YouTube channel though, and I want to change that. Like you, I'd love to give the audience, I hope to create a quality visual experience. At this moment, I can't exactly afford the cameras you use. What are your thoughts on the GoPro Hero 9 as a cheaper alternative? Well, yes. The GoPro Hero 9, I actually have a GoPro Hero 9 myself. I use it for my Thoughts on Walks, which I haven't done in a while. You know, we moved and everything, but Thoughts on Walks are coming back. But I use a GoPro Hero 9 for Thoughts on Walks. It is a great alternative. If you can't have like a proper camera like this one, like I have a Sony a6400 right here with a, oh, why am I forgetting the name of the lens? Anyway, a 16 millimeter prime lens, right? If you can't afford that, which is fine. It took me a while to build up to that. I did my shows like AMC days and whatever. I did a lot of my shows on very simple, like $50 webcams. If you have a GoPro Hero 9, you can plug that in via USB into your computer and put it into webcam mode. And you can use that as a webcam, and that is a great alternative. On top of that, let me show you one other thing that I'm very, very excited about. There is a new web camera that just came out that I am very excited to get my hands on and to try. It is from the gaming company Razer that makes a lot of gaming laptops. And it is called the Kio Pro web camera. And it is big. I mean, don't be fooled by these pictures. It's a big, beefy camera. But I've been seeing some people doing some, get away from this. I've been seeing some people doing some demonstrations with this web camera. And I gotta say, I am very impressed by the results I'm seeing they're getting out of this web camera. And it looks great. Now, it's still a web camera. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to replace a Sony a6400 or a Canon R or whatever, but it looks really good. It is expensive for a web camera. It retails at $199. But you can put into HDR mode, and honestly, it looks great. I'm going to get one for Anne, and I might get one for myself to use as maybe a third cam, just to play around with it because I love gear. But so yes, using your GoPro, totally good option. Actually, very good option. Also, if you have an older iPhone, like an iPhone 7 or 8 laying around, there are apps you can use to use the camera on the iPhone is great. So you can use your iPhone as your web camera. But also, if you want to spend a little bit of money, $199 for this Kio Pro, so far looks great to me. That might be an option for you. Sorry, I got talking about tech. I like talking about tech. All right, guys, listen. We're going to keep the show going. We're going to go long today. We've already gone long. We're like 20 minutes overtime, but it doesn't matter. We're going to keep the show going. I'm going to answer more questions, but we have been going for almost 2.5 hours now. I have run out of my drink. So if you guys will indulge me for just a couple of minutes, I'm going to run, grab a drink, maybe use the bathroom quick, TMI, but give you guys a chance. Talk amongst yourselves for a few minutes, run to use the bathroom yourself, make yourself a sandwich, grab yourself a beverage of some sort, whatever, but hang tight with me, guys. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you for your patience and indulgence as I took a little bit of a break there. Let's keep right on rolling. We got a few minutes left. Let's keep going with your questions here. The next one up is Mal3D, who tips in $20. Thank you, Mal, for supporting the channel on that level, man. Next up, this comes to us from Mal, who writes, "Hey, John, been a big fan since AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much. You don't know it, but you've been helping me every day since then. My little brother died of cancer in 2013. I'm so sorry to hear that, man. Just before his 12th birthday, and you helped me get through that and the PTSD it caused. Last year, I lost my older brother as well, and of course, the John Campea Show and community was there for me. I don't write in often, but I wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, John. I love you, and Rob and Aaron. Have a very filthy birthday." Dude, listen. First of all, deepest condolences on your loss. And, we say it all the time, but we should say this all the time. It should be something that we remember and repeat all the time. One of the great things about movies, human storytelling, whether that's movies, a good TV show, a good stage play, whatever, is that it allows us in hard times to not escape from the rough things going on in our life. It's not an escape because it's always going to be there. But I know for me, when I've had family die, when I've had my friends pass away, things like that, what the movies and sometimes shows and things like that are for me is you guys have heard me say it before, an oasis. We're able to go into it and lose ourselves for a little while and hear something that sparks our imagination. Hear stories that move us emotionally. Hear stories and see characters that make us dream, make us feel. They're experiential events, and they allow us to recharge, I believe. And so I've always said when I come out of a movie or a show or talking about movies and shows with other people in a community, it's not that my problems have disappeared. They're still there. But now I feel a little bit more equipped to engage them and to face them and to deal with them. Movies and TV shows and talking with other community members about them, they don't make our problems go away. But I believe they recharge our batteries. They give us a fresh perspective on life and the world. And then when we come out of them and we face these issues again, we are more refreshed. We have maybe a little bit of a different perspective. We're a little bit more equipped. And it just makes dealing with the very real problems we face in our lives sometimes seem a little bit more manageable. And that's what having a community does. And that's what the beauty of human storytelling has been. And I'm really, really glad, man, that has been there for you. I'm glad that this show has been able to be here for you. And we are very lucky to have someone like you here sharing your experience like that and what this community and what movies and human storytelling can do. So thank you, Mal. And again, deepest condolences and thank you for your bravery of sharing your story like that. I really appreciate that, dude. All right. Next up, Jonathan writes, writing this B5 probably meant before episode 8. If Nexus is at play and is the center of all realities, Feige has made a way to include Fox X-Men and Sony Universe if he wanted to. Like you said, with Nexus, anything is possible. No, you're 100% bang on the money, Jonathan. If, and it's a big if he is indeed introducing the Nexus of all realities, it opens the door for anything he wants to do. It might be a little ridiculous, but it is there narratively. It's totally a tool he's given himself, Jonathan. You're 100% right. War Doctor 10 writes, hey, John and crew. I was watching Endgame the other night, always a good thing to do, and was wondering, could Thor have done the snap and survived? I mean, he did take on the full radiation of a star for 5 minutes. Thoughts? Yes. Like the Hulk was able to snap and survive, Thor would have been able to do the snap and survive. It wasn't just the radiation of a sun. It was also the heat. He stood there and took the full force of a star. And it nearly killed him, but he survived it. And if Hulk can snap and live, I think Thor also would have been worse for wear. He would have taken damage just like Hulk did. But yeah, I think Thor would have been able to survive it. Yeah, I think he would have been able to do that. All right, John Christopher writes, Hello again. It's JC, John Christopher from Germany. Hello, JC. Happy birthday to both of us. What an unbelievable and difficult year it has been. True. Let's hope the next one will be better. Stay safe, my friend, and have a great night today. And of course, that was back on my birthday, which was, of course, on Friday. Thank you so much for that. I did have a wonderful birthday. And you know what? It's already been a better year. I mean, you can just feel it. There's something, again, maybe I'm being overly optimistic. I know I might be, but there's a feeling like we can finally see a light at the end of the tunnel. We've got some great programming and movies. We've got WandaVision on right now. It's already been a better year. It's already been a better year, and I believe it's going to continue to do that. All right, thanks for that, John. James Dead is Not Dean writes, if you listen to it, the tune of Agatha's theme song is just slightly altered version of the original theme from the Munsters. Oh, no, totally. You could totally tell right away, James, that was completely influenced by the Munsters music. Bum, 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 bum. Like you could totally hear it, even in the orchestral shots and stuff like that. Totally. So I think you're 100% dead on with that, James. Next up, the Wakandan Forever writes, WandaVision broke the internet. Second week in a row, I tried to log in to watch the show on Disney+. Took me over 30 minutes to finally see it. I really think there will be some form of witchcraft going on. Wanda is so powerful. She is altering our reality. And that brings up a point, because I had it happen to me again too. That I stayed up till midnight. Boo-hoo, Campea. I had to stay up till 4 a.m. I know. In LA, we're kind of lucky. We only have to stay up till midnight. A lot of you guys have to stay up till like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever. So I get it. Boo-hoo, Campea. Poor you. Only stay. I get it. I know. But here I am nonetheless, staying up till midnight to watch this thing when I got to get up at 5 the next day. And I go to Disney Plus and it just craps out. And last week, it took me like 20 minutes to finally get on. This past week, not as long. It only took me about 10 to 15 minutes, but still, I mean, come on, Disney. You're one of the richest companies in the world. I mean, you're not nowhere near as rich as Apple or anything, but you're still a very, very rich company. You know what kind of traffic these WandaVision episodes are driving. You know what kind of traffic these premium content Star Wars and Marvel shows are driving. You should be prepared for this. There's no excuse for it at this point. They should totally be prepared for this. So when somebody like me stays up till midnight, or somebody like midnight in the live chat stays up till 2 a.m., or somebody like Isaiah Jones in the live chat stays up till 4 a.m., make sure your service works right away. All right? These people are supporting your show so much, they're staying awake to watch it right away. You've got enough money to make it work. So get on it. Would you make it work? All right. Lowell writes, the Loki theory might be right. I have some questions though. Who was that in Wanda's vision? Was she Agatha, deceased mother? Was that Frigga? No, it wasn't Frigga. Possibly Amora? No, it wasn't. I don't know. Also, why is Hayward a forever dick? I don't know why he's such a dick, but I will say this. Hold on a second. A Wanda, silhouette, vision. Let me see if I can find this. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. Okay, yes. Let me pull this up to see if... So here's the main graphic, right? Here's the main graphic. This is what we saw in WandaVision, right? We saw this image. Let me try this instead. Now, somebody took this image, and you see up here, she's got the crown, right? The classic WandaVision crown, which was similar looking to Agatha's mother. She had that kind of same power shape on her head, right? She had that same kind of shape. Now, what has happened though, is some people have taken that image, and let me see if I can find it anywhere. Some people have, I can't find it right now, but some people have taken that image and they blew it up and increased the brightness and decreased the contrast. And you actually see that that image is actually Wanda. Now, I thought there was a possibility it could have been like maybe a previous Scarlet Witch from another generation, or maybe it was Agatha's mom, but somebody, like I said, blew up that image bright and cranked up the brightness, and you can actually see it is Wanda in some pretty badass looking battle armor. That looks really good. So I don't know, maybe that image is fake, but it looked pretty legit to me, so that could be it. All right, thanks for that, Lowell. Angry Ogre writes, hey, John, just stepped in like $20. Thank you, Angry Ogre. Hey, John, just watched episode 8 of WandaVision. Chills, just chills. Dude, to me, it was the best episode of the season so far. It was absolutely, to me, the best episode of the season so far. I cannot wait, guy. I cannot wait to get to episode 9. I'm very, very stoked for it. Very excited for it. All right, next up, Leo Liang writes, happy birthday, John. Of course, this was sent in on Friday when we didn't have a show on Friday. Thanks for keeping us company during these trying times. Here's to many more. I agree. And thanks for being part of our community, Leo. I really appreciate that, man. Next up, Elijah writes, oh boy, 1 of 6. John, I've been watching since The Dark Knight Rises AMC. Nice. I am 20. I think we just saw Wanda manifest the Mind Stone, big theory. So we saw her interact with the Mind Stone in the beginning of the episode, seeing her scarlet self. Yes, the power didn't evaporate her though, due to the immense power from the chaos magic she has inside of her. Now, or the stone chose her. I mean, that's the other thing. They've implied in the MCU that the Infinity Stones have sentience, right? So the stone may have chose her. Anyway, immense power from chaos magic she has inside of her. Now, in all the movies, we have never ever seen the Mind Stone interact in this manner. She has constantly shown that she is able to interact with it on a level of no other, even to the point of completely shattering it in Infinity War. Now, when she goes to see Viz, they made a point for her to go and try to feel where the Mind Stone used to sit. And even solemnly, she said she could not feel its essence. No, she did not say she could not feel the Mind Stone's essence. She specifically said, I don't feel you. She was talking about vision. She wasn't talking about the stone. That's a very, very clear distinction. Anyway, now let me bring it together. Who has lost more than Wanda in this whole universe? Nobody. Her whole life has been tragedy, man. You even said in Endgame when she says, you took everything from me. You'll know who I am. That was the sacrifice you had to give to attain the Mind Stone on Vormir. No, you had to do to obtain the Soul Stone on Vormir, not the Mind Stone. Anyway, you had to give up what? Wait a second. Okay, the characters lost more than one in the whole series. What did Thanos have to give up to obtain the Mind Stone? It's actually the Soul Stone, his daughter. What did Hawkeye have to give up? Black Widow, which is actually a problem with the movie because he never gave her up. She forced herself off. He didn't willingly sacrifice her. Anyway, Black Widow, Wanda made the sacrifice for the stone 5 times over, but she never sacrificed that. Those were things taken from her. There's a difference between a sacrifice and being a victim of something. She was a victim of terrible circumstances throughout her life. She never really sacrificed for the stone. But anyway, Wanda made the sacrifice of the stone 5 times over. Pietro, parents, then Viz again, when he got out, brought back and got the stone ripped out. And then finally, when she saw his body dismantled, she experienced so much loss that her chaos magic opened up the Nexus and created a fake pocket world. Then with Mind Stone essence, she manifested the Mind Stone with the pocket universe. They used the flashbacks to show her trauma. I feel that they were a double entendre representing her worthiness of the stone combined with the chaos magic power and possible gains from killing Vision. In the second, we keep going. In the second FB, I don't know what FB is. We saw her, or flashback, we saw her interaction with the Mind Stone. The workers even stated everyone else who interacted with it, with the stone perished. Then she brought Viz back. It was the essence of the stone, yellow color, coming right out of her. Prophecy fulfilled. I'm so sorry if the numbers were jumbled. I'm so damn tired. I've been up all night with WandaVision. I love the show. I've been watching you since I was a youngin'. You have shown me I have a rare love of cinema, but I appreciate you for making me realize my passion. All right, well, thank you so much, Elijah. That was a long one. All right, let's jump into a couple of things here. First of all, it is very important to understand that there is a difference between the Soul Stone and the Mind Stone, right? What Thanos went to Vormir to get was not the Mind Stone. It was the Soul Stone, which is a completely different thing. And getting the Soul Stone was a different process than getting any of the other stones. None of the other stones ever had a thing where you had to sacrifice to get it. On top of that, Wanda never even did sacrifice to get the stone. She's made sacrifices in her life, but the Soul Stone, remember, which is different from the Mind Stone, but even the Soul Stone itself specifically needed a sacrifice for the purpose of obtaining the Soul Stone. You have to sacrifice that which you love the most. Wanda did that too with Vision, but it was never for the Soul Stone. It was never for any of the stones at all. It was for trying to save the world. So it's a different thing. So, no, I don't believe the Mind Stone bequeathed her anything because she sacrificed for the Mind Stone. Again, that was separate from the Soul Stone. It's a completely different thing. But the idea that she manifests the Mind Stone in the Hex, here's where that's consistent with one of my theories right now. The Mind Stone, remember, why is Hayward able to track Vision's vibranium if this Vision isn't even real? Because in the Hex, it's as real gets. When a modern car is turned into an old 1950s car, that is as real as a 1950s car as there is inside the Hex. But we saw that once Vision tried to exit the Hex, he can't exist. That vibranium body of his turns as flaky pastries, right? And goes flying back into the Hex. He can't exist outside of it. But inside the Hex, Vision's body is as much vibranium as anything is vibranium inside the Hex. Therefore, could it be possible that inside the Hex, and only inside the Hex, that Wanda was able to recreate a copy of the Mind Stone? Maybe. That's possible. So that is something they could do. And we will see how that actually fully manifests itself out. Although, again, keep in mind that you seem to be confusing a little bit the Soul Stone and the Mind Stone. They weren't one and the same. They were different. And just because you had to go through a certain process to acquire the Soul Stone, that process was never there present for any of the other stones, right? So, but it'll be interesting to see how this works out. We've got one episode left to go, Elijah. One episode left to go, and we will get a lot of these answers given to us. And hey, man, listen, well done, putting all your thoughts and theories very coherently out in one long thing there. Well done. I appreciate it. And let's keep our eyes on that and see how any of that kind of turns out. Well done. And thank you, Elijah. All right. Next up, we only got time for a couple more here, guys. Sokovian Fortune Teller writes, who's ready to see the MCU Scarlet Witch costume? I am. Yeah. Listen, I've said for a long time, you're not going to see the classic Scarlet Witch costume because that would look ridiculous on screen. But from the images we've been seeing, there is a really badass battle armor kind of variant of the classic Scarlet Witch look that could look really, really good. We will see if they actually play this one out. All right, Brett B writes, I had no idea movie theaters were still closed. My theater here in Kentucky opened in August. Honestly, I feel most comfortable in theaters, restaurants with their spacing, cleaning in place. When I go to the grocery store, 50% of staff/customers don't wear masks. Well, here's the thing, Brent. I've been saying this for a while. When I went to Las Vegas to go see New Mutants at the AMC Theater, and when I went to Orange County to go see Tenet, those are the only two times I've been to the theater in the last year, I was very impressed with their safety protocols and procedures. And I said, I felt very comfortable. I felt more secure and safe in those theaters with their protocols than I do going into the grocery store. Now, here in California and LA, everybody wears masks in the grocery store. So that's good. And I do feel safe in the grocery stores. I do. They're constantly disinfecting the carriages. They got all the hand sanitizer out. They had disinfectant wipes down. It's good. I feel safe in the grocery store, but I felt way safer in those movie theaters with the right precautions. Now, I get why New York closed down theaters and kept them closed. I get why LA did too. The cases here have been huge and the number of hospital bed availability have been down. So they took some extreme measures. I'm not faulting them for that, but yeah, I think there are ways to reopen theaters and be with the right protocols and feel perfectly safe. Now, remember, I'm not a medical expert. That's just my kind of opinion. But yeah, I hope to see these things come back here really quick. All right, next up. Thanks for that, Brent. Elijah writes, the person who pulled telekinesis her child self out from under the bed wasn't Agatha. Oh, yes, it was. If you look closely, the hand position of the guy squatting down was over the knee, and it was an old hand. When it cut to Agatha, she had hers cuffed to her face. I think that's reading too much into it. I think the implied message there that it was Agatha pulling her out of the vision. She was pulling her out of the vision. Now, I don't know. Maybe in episode 9, maybe we flash back to episode 8 and we saw there was a person there that did that. Maybe, but that wasn't the impression I got, Elijah. But you never know. Let's keep our eyes on that and see if they reference that in episode 9. All right, the next one. The Shadesman writes, 1 of 2. Hey, John. On Thursday's show, someone talked about theme parks opening in California and whether it's the same as theaters. I work at Universal Orlando, and we follow very strict guidelines to maintain health and safety for guests, and it works to an extent. People can be terrible about following the guidelines, but we do a good job to make sure people are adhering to it, and if not, we kick them out of the park. So hopefully California can adopt the same strategy. Oh, I listen, man. Yeah, I agree. I would love to see the theme parks open again. Ann and I love going to Disneyland when we had a pass and they took our pass away. We love going to Universal Studios Hollywood. We love going to Universal Studios Hollywood. But again, I want them to be safe. I want them to be secure. And now that numbers are coming down and vaccinations are going up, maybe now is the time for these things to get reopened. And it's good to hear. Thank you for giving us that update, Shademan. I really do appreciate hearing that. And hopefully they're going to be able to do the same here in California very soon. All right. Next up, Elijah writes. More from Elijah, who writes, leads me to believe that she was lying about her failed bomb story. No, she wasn't lying. Maybe she didn't remember it quite correctly, but she wasn't lying. She was lying about her failed bomb story because she was trying to protect the identity of whoever pulled her out from under that bed. She was shocked because she didn't remember the detail, remembering Pietro saying she locked away the grief. But remember, Pietro was saying that as a cover for his own deception, right? Remember that. You got to keep that in mind. And Wanda was never lying about that story. Like, the only thing she's confused about is Agatha is hinting to her that I think you had witch powers right from that age. And Wanda's like, I have no recollection of me stopping that bomb. I thought it was just defective. Agatha, and remember, the show never tells us or shows us that Agatha's right. Agatha could be wrong. Agatha is just theorizing. Agatha has only theorized that maybe Wanda was a born witch and had that power already when she was that age. But the show never actually confirms that. We only see Agatha speculating and theorizing. And maybe she's right. Maybe she's right. Or maybe they could throw us a curveball. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. All right. Last question of the day, guys. We'll do 2 more. We'll do this one from Elijah, and then we'll do one more from Ryan Lohner, who writes, regarding my vision theory, to offer a counter to anyone who says, yeah, but this episode proves she made Viz, I would say true. She aided in the return of the stone, which manifested Viz, but she can't read him with her magic. If he was fake, she could read. I'm not sure that that's true. I don't think that's the case. Now, look, do I think there's something to the color yellow coming out of her? Maybe yes, maybe no. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the stone that remade Vision. It really was Wanda that remade him. So at least that's my interpretation of it. Again, these are all just theories that we're going to have cleared up with episode 9. Yeah, we're going to have to wait to see if that all gets cleared up with episode 9 or not. And I hope they do, and I hope they will. All right, last question today, guys. Ryan Lohner writes, happy birthday, John. Of course, this was sent in on Friday when we didn't have a show. Some people who share it, Chase Masterson, 58, Michael Bolton, 68. Michael Bolton, 68, wow. Bill Duke, 78, Chuck Wepner, 82, Johnny Cash, Fats Domino, Tony Randall, Theodore Sturgeon, Jackie Gleason, Tex Avery. I didn't know any of those people shared my birthday, so thank you so much for letting me know that, Ryan. All right, listen. For Wakandan Forever, the facility guy, and Matt Murdoch, don't worry, we're going to get to your questions. Actually, Kim Kimberly, I should say. It's not Kim, it's Kimberly. Kimberly Kern and I are going to be doing a companion video a little bit later today. So keep your guys' eyes open. We're going to get massively caught up on all the questions. Hopefully we'll get all the way caught up on your questions by the end of that companion video later today. So if you still have a question outstanding that you sent in over the weekend, don't worry. Hopefully we're going to get to that in our companion video. So hang tight and make sure you come back and check that out a little bit later. But for now, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for being here, for making this show a part of your day. Special thanks to Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett for bringing his greatness and glory here. And a very special thank you to all of you guys who sent in those live questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you actually very tangibly supported this channel as you did it. And all of us here involved with the John Campea YouTube show, thank you guys very, very much for that. Do me a favor, guys, another way to support the show, click the thumbs up button. If you like these types of videos and these discussions, it doesn't matter if you agree with my opinions or not, but if you like these types of videos and these types of discussions, do me a favor, easy as can be, jump down, click the thumbs up button, leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, guys, remember to do the four main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye. I got reached out to by one of the guys who told me about the Batman situation.